What's up, everybody? Welcome Directly to You. This is an episode. It's the 51st one. I had to double check that in my head like I do every week. And much like most other weeks, except for last week when he died and now he's revived, Parker is joining me.
Yeah, that's right. It's me. I was confused last week because I listened to the episode and I was dead. So it was kind of existential for a good little while there. I had to, feel my arms a bunch of times, pinch myself and whatnot.
You're like, wait, did I die?
But it turns out you guys were wrong and I am alive. So
no, I think that we were right. And once the podcast came out, it just delivered to your psyche and then it brought you back.
Interesting.
Because you're like, I can't miss the next episode. That's not right.
Can't be dead 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I can't do that.
But for real, my parents were in town and that was it. So I knew ahead of time I wasn't going to be here. But it was lots of fun listening to you guys talk with Dan and all that. So yeah, I appreciated all that.
But in other news, Logan's dead this week. And this isn't a segue, but hey, you can support us and help us make this podcast easier to make and higher production and, just great in general, by becoming a member on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/fanatics4. If you're not a subscriber there, then I want to know about your day and why do you subscribe to this channel and not that one? That's an interesting choice.
Good point.
But you can also support us on Anchor, which is our audio podcast side of things, by going to anchor.fm/directly to you. And you could pledge anywhere from $1 to $10. And you get, for all that, the best level to support at is $5 because you get the same stuff as the YouTube stuff, except for the loyalty badges and the exclusive emotes, because we don't have that technology. You got to talk to YouTube about that one. But indeed. Apart from that, I think that's all the stuff. Oh, something weird happened with last episode. So last episode we're supposed to have this sponsor, another Nintendo podcast, but Anchor's system is stupid for sponsors. Like it's not like fully developed yet. So like when I did the ad read and I clicked on there, include ad read in this episode, it literally only included the ad read in the episode. So if that's what happened to your feed, that's why. Yeah, so weird. This episode, not going to do the sponsor thing. I got to talk with them to figure out how to make sure that doesn't happen again if we ever do another ad read.
For what it's worth, I went back and checked out the beginning of episode 49, and it sounded like the sponsor thing was before that one. And I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but I don't know.
Weird.
So there you go.
Very strange. But how you doing, Parker?
I'm doing, I would say great. I've been kind of sick all week, so that's been sort of lame, but I'm doing great, like all practical things concerned, just feeling gross and gunky and whatnot. So, and it's been raining every single day where I'm at. So weird on that front. But besides that, pretty good.
You've been playing a lot of Pokemon Let's Go. I've been seeing that. Every time I turn on my Switch to do my usual, Smash Brothers and now Tetris 99, which I'm going to get into that.
Yep.
Product provided by Nintendo. Not Tetris 99, obviously. Right. It's provided to everyone for free.
Indeed.
But I like do my daily Smash Brothers routine and I'm like, oh, Parker's playing Pokemon Let's Go.
Yeah, so. Story behind that. Story behind that is Pokemon. So that short story. But also my friend that I work with and stuff, that we play Switch stuff together a lot. He got Pokemon for his birthday a couple weeks ago, and so he's been playing it. And his favorite Pokemon's Ninetales, and he's got Let's Go Eevee, so you can get Ninetales and Let's Go Eevee. And so he went up to. He wanted to go ahead and, like, as soon as he could, grind for a shiny Ninetales to be able to, just have that to play with through the rest of the game. But then, so he was shiny hunting and stuff like that, catch comboing and the likes, and left his regular party in the slot, which means that he's only, has had 4 badges, was up to Erica, and hit all of his Pokemon in his main party are, 63.
Jesus.
Or whatever. to where he can just plow through everything. And meanwhile, like I tried to level, you know, as evenly as possible throughout the game. And so after beating the Elite Four, I'm at like 59 to 61 ish was the kind of range of level. So I was like, I should probably get back in there a little bit. And, you know, get some other stuff. But yeah, and then I just started, I've been shiny hunting, sort of, not really, but kind of for some growliths and stuff, and just having a good old time. Just
I want to do that so bad. But like the kind of want that you say to yourself, I want to do that. But then when given the opportunity, you just don't do it. You know, so like every time I turn my Switch, like I have the time to like play games, I'll play Switch, and you know what I go to? Smash Brothers or Tetris 99.
Yep.
Tetris 99 is a time, and it frustrates me to no end because it's like at the beginning of the game, I was doing good. I was top 5 pretty consistently throughout throughout the thing, like, or at least like within the top 10 somewhere. Now it's like very inconsistent because one match I'll be doing good and I'll be within like the top 5, and then the next match immediately I get dog piles with garbage because it's like it seems like the random option, which is the default option when you start the game, for attacks is set to higher leveled players. So the higher level you get, more likely it is that you'll be bombarded with garbage before you have the opportunity to set up to protect yourself against it. So it's like it's less of a like a skill based thing and more of a like, well, hopefully you just don't have 20 people gunning for you from the start of the game. You know, so that's been a time. I like Tetris. Tetris is normally a thing that I like for Puyo Puyo. I literally bought Puyo Puyo Tetris just to play the regular Tetris mode, so I can just play something, but not really, you know, like just play it in the background while I'm editing. Or
that's where the shiny hunting thing is. I mean, same kind of thing with that. Like, I haven't had a ton of like active gaming time recently, but I had, you know, things where I could just like play a little bit in the background. So similarly, I think we're using that for for similar purposes.
Right. But Smash Brothers is Smash Brothers, and I'm still in the. I just gotta like stop, you know. I just gotta like get it together and stop like experimenting or trying to like disrespect people because like I'm hovering with Pokemon Trainer. I can still disrespect people with Inkling. You're crazy. But Pokemon Trainer, I gotta stop. I gotta just do what needs to be done. Right. Because I keep hovering right under Elite Smash, and then it's like, I'll just do whatever, you know. I'll be trying to spike people and like waterfall them off the cliff with Squirtle when it's like I could have much safer options that don't get punished. But I just like in my head, I'm like, but like spiking them would be so much cooler. Yeah. So it's like I gotta stop.
I mean, there's something to be said for just having fun, you know, like according to you have to stop it at the same time. It's also just fun to do whatever you want to do.
That's true, but it's so off-brand for me not to have Pokemon Trainer and Elite Smash. What type of nonsense is that? That's not fair. Like, of course I like Splatoon. Splatoon's great, but it's not okay that I just have Inkling in Elite Smash. I need to get Pokemon Trainer in there. And then after that, I don't even care about Elite Smash anymore, because Elite Smash is kind of stupid. Yeah. But, you know.
I mean, Logan talked on that. I know. I was talking to you, but yeah, Logan mentioned that in his video, which I guess we won't specifically be getting into since he's not here.
No, he's dead, Rick.
But had some interesting points, and I don't know how to necessarily do it 100% better, but I think the way they're doing it at least isn't the best way. That much is for sure.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I would say For Glory was better. I mean, For Glory didn't do a good job at what Elite Smash tries to present itself as, you know, where it's like For Glory didn't make you like feel like you were better than other people in a sense. Like global smash power was always a thing or whatever, but it wasn't as prevalent as it is now, right? Where you see it like this guy beat you and he only had 1.7 million GSP, you know,
1.21 gigawatts. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like I can't believe I lost to somebody like that. Which, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the average is. Like, I don't know what's your GSP?
Okay, so I don't play online very much, so mine's really inflated weird. The characters I've played the least, I've got some characters with a GSP of like 2.2 million because I'd done offline stuff and then beat one person online and it just inflated all the way up. But then like Toon Link, Young Link, who's my main most of the time, but I've only played online with him probably like 10 times compared to the 1 or 2 times with everybody else. He's at like 100,000 because I've just lost to a bunch of people because I don't know. So it's a weird system. I think, once you play a lot, it corrects itself. But at the point where I'm at, my good characters are way too low, but my bad characters are way too high.
Yeah, because you can kind of just leave it alone and like whatever your average GSP is amongst everything that you do is where everybody else will settle.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that you can fall out of it by doing nothing.
That's like I think that's the worst part. Yeah, for sure.
Stupid. Because I've had Corrin in Elite Smash. I think Corrin was the first character I ever got in Elite Smash. I had Corrin in there. I haven't touched Corrin since, but they fell out of Elite Smash. And it's like, what? I didn't even lose with them. They just fell out. Yep. I had, obviously, Inkling, and then I had, what was the other character? I don't remember. Sword person. Somebody with a sword.
Bowser Jr.
Yes. Yes. His myriad swords. But no. Oh, it was Cloud. I had Cloud in there.
Okay, yeah. Speaking of which, I saw that the video you put up of you as Pokemon trainer against the Cloud. That was very good.
Oh yeah.
It's fun times. Follow Reggie on Twitter, everybody. He
follow
puts
me
up
on
some
Twitter,
stuff, and it's fun.
McCray Jr. It's in the description, probably. I'd assume so.
Yeah, probably.
I think I put it in there.
I mean, if it's not, you can do it.
Yeah, I have the ability to do that. But yeah, sometimes it's just like I'm just playing handheld mode because like I don't feel like doing all that stuff. Especially how my setup is right now. Because to play my Switch on my TV, I had to plug my TV. Or not my TV, but I had to plug the capture card into my computer because I can't see my Switch unless my capture card is plugged in, or I would have to unplug the HDMI from something and then plug it into the thing and have it's just not worth the effort annoying. When I can just plug a USB into the computer. So sometimes I don't even feel like doing all that. So I'm like, I just play on handheld mode. And then I was like, okay, like I've won a lot of the matches that I was playing when I did that, but I 3-stocked this, man. I was like, I gotta post this on Twitter. I gotta do it because that's crazy. Like I'm like, I feel like other than playing with a single Joy-Con, if you're good at Smash Brothers, you can do competently with any format. Like a lot of people are like, oh, it's impossible to play handheld mode. It's like, nah, like maybe you're a little bit compromised with handheld mode, but it's definitely not like playing with a single Joy-Con or like a single Wii remote or anything like that where you're I mean, just severely handicapped. Yeah, like where it's definitive. Like, no, you definitely have a disadvantage. It's not just this perceived thing of like, oh, I feel like I'm worse because I am not holding very specifically a GameCube controller.
I mean, I know it's not saying much, but I play like 95% in handheld mode, and it turns out fine.
Hey, man, maybe that's your problem. Maybe you need to play with a GameCube controller, and you'll immediately be in Elite Smash, according to most people.
Yeah, exactly.
That have ever played Smash Brothers or watched like a Zero stream or something.
And that's the only definitive way to play. On the Tetris thing, side note, so I think because you were talking about other, that you could play it differently or something. I think there was actually rumors that there had been data mine of different modes that are going to be coming eventually.
Oh yeah, like 50 versus 50.
Yeah, and I think maybe an offline one even, but I don't know. I can't remember. I don't even have it in the news or anything, but it just, but that would be cool just to have like some kind of practice stuff too, because I don't have anything.
Squad up. Yeah. Let it be me and Bob versus the world so we can stream it. Let's do it.
I'll allow it.
Make it happen. Bob's going to mess it all up. Speaking of Bob, all right. So he was streaming. We're having this conversation. He's like talking about how Mario made, in the video that we did. Yeah. It was good, which we'll get to. But the video that we did on his channel, so we won't get to that. We'll talk about that here, I guess. So in that video, it was like, which I played into the bit, but he was like, again, that I'll finally be able to be better than AJ at or whatever. And then somebody brought it up. Who was it? Oh, it was Atten. I don't know if you know who Atten is, but he's another one of our like shared viewers. and he DM'd me and Bob, and he was like, I still think AJ's going to be better than you or whatever. So I brought it up in his stream where it was like, he was like talking about that again, where it's like AJ's like better than me in every game except for like shooters. And I was like, yeah, I was like, but I don't play shooters. So it's like, well, shooters that aren't Splatoon. And that's the thing where it's like, he's better than me in everything but the games that he doesn't play. Right. And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's the reason. I'm not denying that you're better than me at them, because you definitely are, but I'm just telling you why. And he's like, no, you're just like, you always make an excuse. I was like, no, I'm not making an excuse. I'm not saying like, oh, like that doesn't make you good or whatever. Even though I will say, Bob's not really good at shooters either. I'm just awful. I just suck at shooters because I like don't play them at all. Yeah. So I just don't have like the instinct of like, okay, this stick and blah, blah, blah. Like it comes naturally to me for Splatoon because I can use motion and then use a stick to correct and do all that stuff. But the shooters on the regular consoles, I can't do that. But at any rate, this whole conversation was like, we have yet to have a game where like Bob will post like a replay of something, right? Like a Smash Brothers, and people be like, yo, Bob's scary at Smash Brothers. I would never play him. You know, like the type of replays that like me and Logan will post. Bob doesn't have that game yet. Even Mario Maker, it's not that game for Bob. Like nobody looks at Bob play Mario and be like, yo, Bob's the best Mario player I've ever seen in my life.
And know? It's tricky too, because there's such a, like with Smash, it's easy to see, I don't know, the difference between two people that are playing, like that one's better than the other. But then like you've talked about too, it's, you know, the curve of you to zero or any of that kind of stuff is, it's harder to really monetize, or not monetize, but like really perceive that difference. Whereas with Mario, it's like super obvious. Somebody is good at a super expert run in Mario and they can get to the end of these levels, but then somebody else just can't get to the end of those levels. And so it's really easy to tell like, that's the gap there. So it's harder to be impressive at it unless you're at the top level. Yeah. Right.
With our gap between me and Bob, it's like I'll be on world, let's say for the sake of like the games in general, not the recent ones, because they don't number them for that, for like that in the same way. But say world, like on world 6-4, and it takes me 7 tries and it takes Bob 14 tries, or vice versa. You know, like Bob's not clearing these stages with all 3 medallions in 1 try. You know, like that doesn't happen. Like we have that meme that Bob never dies, but Bob dies a lot. So it's like, it's definitely not like this like gulf in skill that exists between me and him in Smash, or like. And that comes up with the like the excuses thing, right? Where he's like, all you do is make excuses. It's like, no, like I think that there's a definitive difference between an excuse and a reason. Right. If I say to you, we definitely weren't on level playing fields for whatever reason the last time we played, and then the next time we play, I 2-stock you every match we do. You gotta realize there was some legitimacy there. Like it wasn't like I made an excuse and then the next time we played I lost again and then made another excuse. Right. I lost that one time and then came back and destroyed you and never lost since then. You know, so it's like,
it will be interesting with Mario Maker 2, because it seems like there's some kind of co-op or multiplayer or whatever. So, I mean, this will be the definitive way to find out.
This will be the one. And I'm going to throw Bob into the off the cliff every chance I get. No, I'm not going to do that. But for sure, like I will, again, this is me publicly acknowledging, I think Bob is better than me at Mario, but I don't think he's as much better than me at Mario than I've shown that I'm better than him at most of the other games that we play.
Yeah, that makes sense. Real quick before we move on from the games too, I'm also playing Undertale. So that's fun.
Oh, snaps.
Yeah.
Undertale or the Deltarune
Undertale,
one?
Yeah. So I downloaded Deltarune, or the demo part for it, but I haven't touched it yet because I wanted to. Okay. I bought Undertale like, I don't know, a bunch of months ago. It was on sale and I was like, I'm going to go ahead and get it. And then just whenever I've got a chance, I'll start playing it. But my wife and I played the Yoshi demo because she's been waiting for that for a while, because she doesn't really game very much at all. But whenever she saw Yoshi, she was real excited about it. So we played that. And then as soon as we finished the demo, I was like, let's try Undertale. Because it seems like, I don't know, we really enjoyed watching Bandersnatch together. And that was kind of, you know, I mean, essentially that's a video game. And I know about Undertale that like you can fight all the enemies, or you can kind of talk your way out of the things. And I was like, maybe she'd enjoy that. So she kind of did. But like... Typical RPG
Did you
gripes.
tell her that you could talk?
I did, yeah. So she didn't even try fighting or whatever because I was like, yeah, we can just talk our way out of it, and that'll be fun.
Yeah, you messed it up. You messed it up. You should have never told her that.
But the typical RPG gripes that I'm totally fine with wild encounters, but then like we'd be walking around and a wild encounter would come, and throughout the like hour of playing, every time a wild encounter came, she got more and more frustrated about it. She's like, "Come on, like just let me walk," and I was like, "Yeah, now I get it." Like I'm so used to it, but I'd see it from everybody else's point of view for sure.
Very dumb.
Yeah.
I don't hate it as much, and I'm like, I didn't play a lot of Undertale. I played a little bit of it. Another YouTuber was like, "Yo, you gotta play this game, and if you don't like it, I'll buy you whatever game you want." And I didn't really like it, but I didn't want to be like, "Yeah, buy me this."
Right, exactly.
I'm not gonna do that. So I played a little bit of it. I like the concept of like, oh, you can get through all of them, and then like they're just gone at that point, right? So on that level, I get it. It would still work if you could see them, but maybe it wouldn't have the same impact, you know?
Right. Yeah. I think it probably depends from game to game. Like that one, because it's like old school kind of, like 8-bit stuff. I think it's totally fine for it to exist there. But I think with the Pokemon thing that we talk about, Pokemon's gotta, I
think for Pokemon, it just makes more sense in that universe.
Exactly.
Generally.
Yeah.
Because you don't see Ash be surprised every time a Pokemon is in front of him, you know? Like, he didn't catch Charmander after it, like, after he stepped on it and said, "Oh, shoot, I didn't realize you were there."
Charmander came out with a knife.
Charmander is pissed. You stepped on his tail.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they're there, and you're like, "Oh, that thing's over there. I want that," you know. And I think that feeling is just so much more on brand with what Pokemon is, not like what it had to be, but what it is.
Yep.
I feel like people get too attached to what a game has to be,
right,
versus what it should be. Like in the Star Fox way, where we're always talking about like, people
totally.
like, Star Fox is about being a dog fighting game. It's like, no, it's not. Star Fox is about bounty hunters that are animals in space.
Yeah.
It's not about being a rail shooter. That just so happens to be the medium that they went with.
I mean, it
doesn't have to be where it stays.
Yeah, I mean, it's like saying Metroid Prime is about or Metroid games are about walking on a 2D plane, side-scrolling. Like, no, and then you did Metroid Prime, and everything was great, and everybody loved it. So,
or Donkey Kong even. Donkey Kong is a more severe thing. Donkey Kong's about being a plumber dude, or carpenter, I guess at that time, a carpenter, and chasing the monkey named Donkey Kong to get your wife Pauline, or girlfriend, or whatever she was.
The female Pauline.
Yeah, the female Pauline. That's what Donkey Kong is. And then just one day it wasn't anymore. Can you imagine?
Yeah, what a world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
speaking about the world, what's going on?
Yeah, and speaking of things that were one way but are now going to be another. All right, let's get to the news. This one is kind of blew up over the last 24 hours. I don't know if you've been following how this. I mean, I swear, like the first thing, there's been little teases of it for a while, but it's the whole Microsoft.
Whoever would have guessed? Nobody would have said something like this. I don't know, in a video. I don't know, like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's funny too because
ever thought that would even happen.
But I think you did, AJ. What are you talking?
What? I did. What did I? When was it in a video? I don't know, like 2 weeks ago.
Yes, it was. The Microsoft and Nintendo buddy, the Games Pass and xCloud could be coming to the Switch, as well as some console exclusives. And there's a whole thing. It started, I think, yesterday was when it kind of got more serious, when Direct Feed Games put out a video that was like, Ori and the Blind Forest is going to come, and then also Games Pass and xCloud in some way, shape, or form, not only to, phones and stuff, but also to the Switch. And then it just got kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
It just makes so much sense because, as I said in the tweet that we had our little exchange on before the show, and as I've been saying for literal years, Microsoft does not care what you play their games on. They don't care even a little bit. All they care about is that you're paying them money to play their games.
Yeah.
If you're paying them money to play their games on a Switch, cool. If you're paying them money to play it on your PC, cool. If you're paying them money to play it on your Xbox, cool. Would they probably prefer that you buy their hardware? Yeah, but like it's the same way that like a Rooster Teeth would prefer you to watch their content on their website, but their content is also on YouTube, also on iTunes, also on Google Play. You know, like that's just how consuming things work. People get attached to ecosystems and they want to stay in the ecosystem. They'll play your game if it's on their ecosystem, you know? Like, people are up in arms about games leaving Steam and going to the Epic Store, and all you gotta do is install a different launcher, you know?
Right, yeah.
Like, that just shows how tied up people are in their ecosystem, and that goes a level further when you're expecting people to buy hardware that they don't have to play your games. So if you can give a fan base your games on their level, like you come to them rather than expecting them to go out of their way to come to you, then they'll buy it.
Yep. I mean, there's plenty of just industries, you know, whether video streaming or music streaming or whatever, that like the parts of the industry that died were the ones that didn't want to adapt in this way. And so, you know, in this, it's like Microsoft doesn't even make money off of their hardware anyway. I mean, they make money off of the software that's sold on their hardware because they get a percentage of that.
At this point, everybody, well, Microsoft wasn't, but I know that that's like the going belief that generally it's a razor blade model. They lose money up front and they make it on the back end. This generation, less so was the case because Sony from the get-go was making money on PlayStation 4. It wasn't like an astronomical amount. It was like $20 or something like minimal like that, but they were making money.
Yeah,
you know,
that
they
adds up.
losing it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think some of the main concerns that folks have for this. So one of the ones that I've seen was, and then curious to hear your thoughts on this, I have my own, is what does this mean for Nintendo? Are they going third party as well? And are they going to put their games on Xbox?
I doubt it. I doubt it.
I wouldn't even say I doubt it. I just say just no. Like, there's just no way. I mean, like,
maybe the furthest I can see them going is maybe they like publish Microsoft's games in Japan. Like, I could see them maybe doing that. But outside of that, I don't know. I think that this is just I think Microsoft sees this as a win for them either way. Yeah. Like, it's a win for Nintendo because they get more games and they get better infrastructure and they, you know, like their fan base gets more stuff on their platform. And they just get money from those people that they wouldn't have got otherwise. Unless they're people like me who already pay for Xbox Live and don't use it, you know, and Game Pass and all that stuff. So I'd be down for this. I'm already a customer. So sure, why not? That comes in the question of like, does that mean that we're paying for two separate services? Are we paying for Game Pass, xCloud, and also Switch Online? Or are there going to be some sort of like, I don't know, subsidized version of that where, okay, you get Xbox Live and Switch Online and xCloud and Game Pass, but for like $70 a year or something.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Just kind of the way that they would do that. Because if it's too split up, that would be, I don't know, that would be definitely a barrier of entry where people would be interested in doing it. But if you need, the Nintendo Online and you need Games Pass for Games Pass and you need Xbox or xCloud or whatever to be able to do that, then that seems like a little bit too much. But I think two things is probably if you have to pay for two separate things, I think that could be okay. Any more than that would be too much. But I mean, Nintendo Online is an annual fee and then Games Pass would be a monthly fee. So then if the xCloud stuff just came with Games Pass,
you could pay for annually too.
Oh, okay.
More.
Yeah, right. I guess, that's my thoughts at least too on the whether Nintendo games would then come to Xbox. I just wouldn't. No, it's just not going to happen.
I doubt it.
And, but no, I think your point too of like Xbox just doesn't have any Japanese market pretty much. I mean, they sell, a whole 50 Xboxes a week as opposed to the 60,000.
I don't even know why they ship them out there. I would not. Like, I don't know. I don't understand why they do it at all. Maybe they just ship them 200,000 units day one and say, here, that's just all we're going to sell there. And we're fine with that. But if they're continuously shipping them like a stock of like even 1,000 consoles a month, like why though?
Yeah.
Like why would you even though?
It doesn't seem worth it.
It doesn't.
I was going to say something or think something, but I don't remember what it was. Well, a couple different things. So I guess, and some of these rumors as well point towards, so specifically some that Cuphead and Ori and the Blind Forest would come to Switch, and those probably would just be regular old ports, I would guess, you know, like in the same way that Hellblade is, or that Minecraft game, just those are Microsoft owned games technically, but they're just going to come as regular old games. But then some of the other ones through, you know, xCloud and all that stuff. But one of the rumors was also for one of the either it's a Forza, Halo, or Gears of War game, that one of those three, which I would guess probably Halo, just because it almost happened before.
Yeah.
And then especially if, I mean, if a Microsoft representative is coming to, or Microsoft owned character is coming to Smash at some point, I would think either it's Banjo, Steve, or Master Chief. And then so if Master Chief is coming and they also decide to put out, you know, some kind of Halo game or collection, I could see it happening in any case, which is weird to say, to be honest, but yeah.
Put Cuphead in Smash.
Yeah.
Put Cuphead on Switch.
Yep. I never played it, and I would enjoy playing it. Another thought that I had too with all this, I don't know what you'd think on this, but in the same way that we got Spyro and Crash remakes, I wonder if Microsoft saw that and they would maybe have Rare work on like a complete remake, remaster, or whatever of Banjo, at least 1 and 2.
They should.
Yeah.
Give me Banjo-Kazooie Odyssey.
Yep. I'd be down. Yeah, so it's super interesting, and it's one of those things that we wouldn't have ever really seen coming a bunch of years ago, but I don't know. At this point, it's seeming closer. At this point,
it just makes too much sense because they're already friends.
Yeah.
You know, like we already have this going idea that like we're all friends now. Mm-hmm. There's no more blast processing. We're not going to talk your ear off about our bits. Mm-hmm. You know, we all made out on the Game Awards stage. You saw it.
It was real cute.
So at this point, it makes sense on that level. Also, it makes sense that like they're down the street. You know, like Reggie probably walked over, knocked on Phil Spencer's door and said, "Hey man, give us some of that infrastructure and we'll give you our customers money."
Yep. And especially
Phil was like, "All right, cool."
Especially because Google especially is rumored to, well, they actually announced pretty much that they're going to announce whatever they're going to announce about them entering the games market in March, like less than a month at this point. I think March 19th, they're going to announce some stuff, which we hear is another console as well. So like, you know, it makes sense that, that Microsoft would be trying to get ahead of it so that they would already be in the streaming service before Google and maybe Amazon get into it as well, so that they're not like already stuck in the mud console wise behind Nintendo and Sony, and then also behind them, behind Google and Amazon in the streaming service kind of way. But I don't know, it's crazy. But as far as Reggie walking over to Microsoft, I don't think he's going to be doing that for much longer.
Why is that?
Because he is retiring.
What?
Crazy. And Bowser's taken over. So I'm sure there's some puns there. What has
the world come to?
It's come to Bowser. That's for sure.
Does that mean that we'll never have, or maybe, okay, there's two possibilities.
Yep.
Either we'll never have to see Peach again, which I'm all for, or we'll see Peach way too much now.
Interesting. Maybe both.
Just give Peach to Bowser, so we'll never have to see her again.
They can be married, and she can, I don't know, hang out with him. We'll just hang out with Daisy instead.
Let her make Bowser save her now.
Yep. But yeah, were you surprised by this, that Reggie's retiring?
I was surprised on a level that, like, that came out of nowhere, but, like, I can see the reasoning. You know, I could see him wanting to, like, him being like, okay, like, they're going to let me do it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to retire on top, you know, like that sort of thing.
Yep.
So yeah, I think it makes sense on that level. I didn't expect it because like he's not that old. He's like what, late 50s?
I think like 57 or something like that.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. Does this mean that he's just going to be done? Or is he going to be like most retired people where he spends like a year and he's like, you know what? Nah, I'm bored. I'm going to do something else.
Michael Jordan back in, 1997 or whatever it was. No, it was later than that. But yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's a great question. I feel like probably just being a Nintendo, I'm curious what their kind of work to life ratio is or whatever. But I feel like that's a great sunset company. I would think. I don't work there.
I feel like not a lot of people leave Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like generally, if you're at Nintendo, you're at Nintendo for the long haul. Like that's definitely like the type of job where it's like, okay,
at least if you're higher up for sure. I mean, like people always leave lower positions or whatever. Like if you're in QA or I don't know in like support or something like that. Right. But being a higher up for sure. I mean, like Miyamoto's been there a billion years. And
I mean, even like like Treehouse employees and stuff like that. Generally, they're going to stick it out because like their benefits are really good and Nintendo's like they go above and beyond to like keep their employees happy.
Yep.
It's just like one of those companies that you're not like, especially in the like tech industry where there's usually a lot of turnover.
Yeah.
Especially in games specifically, there's a ton of turnover. So it's like just on that level, they're usually like really good with their employees. I can imagine like, I don't know if they're like super public about like salaries and stuff like that, but I can imagine he has a very nice retirement.
Yeah, I can imagine for sure. Do you have any impressions on the new guy, on Doug Bowser? Or like what you think of him?
I like that he seems to be even more active than Reggie, like as far as like front and facing wise. And Reggie was very active.
Yeah.
But he just like, he wasn't like Phil Spencer active where he's tweeting people and stuff,
Yeah.
But Doug Bowser seems like he does it. Like he has a Twitter. Reggie doesn't have a Twitter.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and he was I checked.
That's promising.
He was at EA for like 8 years before he came over to Nintendo about 3 years ago. Yeah, so I mean maybe
he was at EA and he's named Bowser. Cancel it.
Hopefully he saw the error of his ways and was like jumped ship or something. But I mean, he knows the games industry at least. But I mean, I don't know if I'd even call EA the games industry so much as like the scam industry. But whatever. It's kind of scary stuff. But yeah,
I'm joking. He's fine. He's going to be all right.
It would be cool for him to come out and do something at some point, like at EA. Not at EA. Sorry, at E3. Do something. Whatever that is.
I don't think that Bowser bit is ever going to die.
Right.
I think that like people already had the reactions that they're having now when he was announced as like their senior VP of like marketing or whatever. And people were like, ha ha ha, his last name's Bowser. Like, and then it's almost like, like the short-term memory loss fish thing of like you swim around the bowl and then you say the same thing again.
Bowser.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, haha, his name's Bowser. 6 months later. His name's Bowser.
Yeah.
It's like, did we already do this bit? Like we get it. We get it. His last name's Bowser. That's great.
Yeah. I don't know. It's cool. So yeah, it's coming back around, and so Reggie's gonna be gone, but something that we thought was gone but isn't. That was bad.
But do we even know? We don't even know. So like there's nothing that we thought was gone but isn't because we don't even know what is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, exactly. So yeah, this next one, this was a big deal kind of earlier on the week, or like happened right after the episode aired last week. So you guys didn't get to talk about it on the podcast. But this was... It's not specifically the Scalebound rumor, but that's kind of what kicked off the Scalebound conversation. But more broadly, it's that Imran Khan from Game Informer, he said the following while he was on the Kind of Funny daily show.
Kind of Funny Games Daily.
Gotcha. Yep. So he said, let me hint at something, I guess. This is the thing that I'm going to write up at some point as soon as I get more sources on it. But there's a game that's thought to be dead that Nintendo's reviving, and it's not one that people would expect. It was very much a title that was dead and buried, very officially canceled. And then he also talked about Kingdom Hearts ports of earlier games coming, but wasn't sure for sure about Kingdom Hearts 3 and whether that would come or not. But the rumors were that the former part was Scalebound.
I doubt it's Scalebound. There's just a lot of stuff that says that Scalebound is dead. and nobody wants it to be back. Like Platinum game, like that's like Platinum Games X, and they just don't want to acknowledge it anymore. They're like, nah, that hurt us deeply. We don't want to do that. Plus, on top of that, like a big problem, like they would have to essentially completely gut that game and change it because that game barely ran on Xbox One.
Yes,
so it's not going to like run in its current form on Switch. So they would have to completely rework what that game is if they were to do that.
Yeah,
and it didn't even really have much to do with like graphics, and that's like a lot of what I talk about like with the ports, where it's like if it's a graphical thing, you're fine, it's okay, just scale back the graphics and you're good. But that was like a AI situation where it's like they had this deep learning like dragon AI and stuff like that. Switch isn't doing that. Right. It's not going to happen on that scale. And I hate how much I said scale already. But it's just not going to do it. Unless we get xCloud, bring us the power of the cloud.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is what if that's something that comes on. So the only reason, or not the only reason, but one of the things additionally that I'm hesitant about is just whether or not Platinum would have the resources to do that on top of already doing Bayonetta 3 and Astral Chains. And I guess that's it. Maybe they do.
It sounds like I think Platinum... And I think this was another thing that I brought up in a video, or maybe it was just a bit of research that I had for like a future video along those lines that I was going to do. But Platinum was talking about like this was going to be like a banner year for them when they were going to announce a lot of big projects. I remember
them saying that. And that there was something else. They had a third game that they were going to announce this year or something along those lines.
Right. So,
yeah, I mean, it sounds like one of those things where then if we don't find out about it this year, then it's probably just not it at all. But interesting that there had been conversation in any case, just in the back end, that it was even maybe happening. And I think you're right. I think if there's any way for it to happen, it would be related to xCloud, because it just wouldn't be able to run on Switch as it is, because that's just trying to do too much.
Yeah. Again, like I said, it was too much even for Xbox.
Yeah. Well, if it's not that game, though, would you have any other... I don't have any other thoughts written down on what that franchise would be, but is there anything else that comes to mind for you?
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that, like, Nintendo's, they start and then they're like, nah, maybe not, you know? Like, I think the first thing that a lot of people were saying was Metroid Dread.
Right.
That's a possibility. I don't know, maybe Mother 4. That's not what it is. No. There was like some other game that I was like talking Bob, I think he made a video about it a while ago, but it was like some game, it was like Project Cabbage or some crap like that. That was like a collaboration. That was what it was, something Cabbage. Cabbage was in the title. And it was like a partnership between like HAL Laboratory and Itoy and like, I don't know, EPD, or what is now EPD. It was like a partnership between like those studios. And it just never happened. But the problem with a lot of the canceled Nintendo games is that they usually morph into something else rather than them being like flat out canceled. So it's like, it's tough to like pin down like, oh, well, maybe it was this. And he does make it sound like it would be something that we know about. It was something that they were very public about. Right. That just didn't happen.
In a similar way to Scalebound, whether or not I'd be interested to see if he actually puts out a report at some point, because he obviously has something that he's pointing towards, and then everybody else seemed to surmise that it was Scalebound, but like maybe he meant something completely different that nobody else thought about or something. But
yeah, and that's the other thing. Like my mind immediately went to like, what does Nintendo have?
Right.
But, I mean, he didn't specifically say that it was a Nintendo game, so I guess. And maybe I don't know if this was like an intentional thing on everybody else's part, but the last time Nintendo did something that was like, oh, this IP that was like very like officially done, Nintendo brought back with Bayonetta. So maybe that's why they're like, oh, maybe Platinum saw success with that the first time, and they tapped Nintendo to be like, hey, let's do it again. And Nintendo's like, cool, man. You know, but like,
I think it would be something, again, kind of going back to the xCloud kind of thing too. The only way I could see it happening, as far as, you know, with Nintendo and Microsoft having such a good relationship right now.
If it released on both.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That it was something that just went to both, whether, I mean, it could just generally go to xCloud overall. I guess, you know, because that's theoretically also going to phones and stuff like that. But
yeah, that would be a solution for the whole, like, it's not going to run when Xbox.
Right, yes. Yeah, but that's, I mean, it seems like, because otherwise, any just Xbox One owners or just Xbox, you know, players would be really frustrated, I feel like, because they were really excited about Scalebound.
See, but this is the thing. I don't think anybody really was. I don't think people were actually excited about Scalebound, because beforehand, like, I was like, oh, this looks interesting, you know? I wasn't running out and buying an Xbox for it, but I was like, hey, this looks cool. I didn't see anybody being like, yo, this is the game, you know, like, this is going to make me jump ship from PlayStation to Xbox, blah, blah. I feel like people got much more excited about it once they learned that it was canceled.
That's possible. I can say from firsthand experience that the friend of mine that I was talking about that got Pokemon Let's Go, he's very excited about it, but also he loves, like, you know, Dragon Hunt,
right?
That stuff. But I also don't know if he was excited about it before it got canceled or not. So I can't really say. But he was excited when I told him, like, theoretically it might come back around. But I don't know. Who's to say?
We'll figure out when Khan makes his report.
Yep. Yeah, so it's odd to have teases for things, but what maybe has another tease for something is Pokemon King and Queen.
I feel like this is straight up BS.
I agree. The only part of it that I think I don't think the Pokemon King and Queen, honestly, partly just because I kind of hope it's not that, because it sounds a little really cheesy. If it is, whatever. I also thought Sun and Moon was kind of...
Yes. Red and Blue sounds cheesy. Every Pokemon name ever sounds cheesy.
Yeah.
I think King and Queen is kind of dumb because we have Nido King and Nido Queen, and a lot of people's, like, mock art is like, they'll put those two on the box, which is, like, really stupid.
Yep.
Like, they're not even especially, like, remarkable in any way. So, like, why though?
Also,
you know,
Nido King is so much shorter than I think he should be. I didn't even realize, but, like, I was playing it, I evolved to a Nido King or whatever, and it was like 4'7", and that's wrong. Like, he's supposed to be like 6 foot something. I don't know. That was really troubling to me.
Pokemon is strange. It's very weird.
I think most of it too is that I'm used to seeing Ash and not thinking of him as a 10-year-old, but thinking of him as somebody who's, like, you know, 5'7" or something like that, just a regular.
He just like proportionate to you.
Yes.
Like at every point in time, it's like, I'm 10, so he's probably like 4 foot something, and then you're like, I'm 23. You know, like,
exactly. So then you put, you know, Charizard up next to him, and it's like, oh, Charizard's so big, but then you find out Charizard's like, I don't know, he's like 5'9", which is
he's like 5 something.
It's weird, but yeah, Pokemon King and Queen. The only part of it that okay, so various thoughts on this, but there was a Twitter account that had tweeted out 2 days before the Direct a whole bunch of tweets that were games that were going to be announced at the Direct, and pretty much all 13 of those were correct. I'm going to put an asterisk there. Go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think the problem with that is those tweets came out after it was like a different leak. I don't remember where the leak was specifically. And they said the same games. Like, there was no, like, discrepancy between what he said and what they said. So he could very well have pulled that from them.
Yep. My other thought with it, kind of along similar lines, is that all of the games are in their own tweets. So there's 13 of them, but they're in their own tweets, which is possible because it was a Twitter handle that nobody was following beforehand, that they, you know, made this Twitter handle that no one was following, and that they put in, you know, 30 different ones that they thought could be in there, and as soon as it happened, they just deleted out all the other ones, and then it's like, well, look at that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know how to check that kind of thing. I tried to look it up and, like, see if you could find deleted tweets, but without having the actual URL for it, looks like you can't see if somebody deleted tweets. So I'm not sure. But in any case, that guy tweeted out Pokemon soon the other day. And Pokemon Day is on the 27th. So people are like, Pokemon Direct on the 27th, maybe? And then it is weird that there's all that Pokemon Day stuff. I think starting the day after that, there's a bunch of events in New York, and there's a Q&A with Treehouse for Pokemon over the next 5 days, which, like, I don't really know what that Q&A is going to be if it's not for a new game, but even if it is for a new game, how much can they really tell about it? Like, it all seems kind of weird.
Yeah. I just don't know. because Pokemon is like, they're kind of consistent with like their lead up to the next game situation, but at the same time they're not.
Right.
Where most times around this time we get some type of vague teasing of like a new Pokemon game's coming. What will it be? But we already have that. We already know a new Pokemon game's coming.
Yeah.
So the only thing left for them to do is like reveal it.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that doesn't happen until like right before E3.
Right.
And then in E3 we get the full blowout of like, this is what the game actually is, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be kind of weird if they announced it this early, unless we got like a super cryptic, like the game's called Pokemon Life and Death. And here's a blurry image of the legendaries. See you in March, you know, or May or whatever.
Yeah, and the only way too that I could see, well, not the only way, but if it's a way bigger game than it has been the other times, I could see them announcing it this much earlier. But otherwise, I'd be expecting it right before E3, but I wouldn't really be expecting it around now because like they just don't really need to, you know. Yeah. Like they know people are going to buy it. They can show it to us later and then everything will be fine on that front. But
the thing about it is like Pokemon, realistically, a Pokemon company doesn't need to show us the game.
No, really, they don't.
They could 100% be like, yeah, by the way, it's on the eShop, and it would have like that whole like Apex Legends effect.
Yeah.
Except it's $60.
Right.
And there's 2 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the other part of it too, I guess, just to fill anybody in that didn't already know. The reason the Pokemon King and Queen thing, I think the only origin of that, there might be something besides this, but I'm pretty sure all it is that Masuda tweeted out a picture of, in Pokemon Go, a Weedle, and like people just completely tore apart all of the numbers and stuff, and that different numbers point towards like the something about Nidoking and something about Nidoqueen and something about Slowking and something about a different one, and I don't know. So like all this stuff that, you know, seemed to point towards it, which the only thing substantiating that is the fact that before Pokemon Let's Go, there was a bunch of stuff that like Masuda tweeted out that kind of in retrospect was pointing towards Pokemon Let's Go as it was. So it's
the only stuff that I saw was like a lot of Eevee stuff, you know? And that's very like on the nose references of like, this is what it is. But I can't see them pinning a game on Nidoqueen and Nidoking.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I don't put a lot. I'm taking this with a lot of grains of salt. But I mean, I'll be paying attention on Tuesday. Well, I guess Monday is probably when we'd find out about if it's going to happen on Tuesday, but we'll find out about that. One other thing, just within the Pokemon things, that this is, we're not talking about Pokemon specifically right now, but to go into the conversation of what we want to see in the next Pokemon game, that just something that I was thinking about as I was playing Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. The NPCs in all Pokemon games, but like especially evident in Let's Go Eevee and Pikachu and stuff, are so dull. Just as far as what they're doing throughout the game, like comparing it to Breath of the Wild, especially where you go to a town and it feels like, oh, people are walking around and doing their thing, and like you talk to someone and they turn around and talk to you. I don't know, like all that kind of stuff. That's among the top things that I would enjoy seeing that would like make the world feel more alive to me, is just having actual NPCs doing things. Yeah, like besides Pokemon, standing around.
As a universe, it just makes so much sense for people to have stuff going on in their life. You know, where it's like, oh, that bug catcher kid that I met at the beginning of my journey is now a gym leader, you know, like some type of progression in that way. Or, man, I just can't seem to win this next gym, so I'm going to train up my Pokemon. Can you battle with me or whatever? And his Pokemon evolves when you're battling them. Like stuff like that, where it's like stuff is happening in the game and it's not necessarily like this scripted thing where I can talk to you and be like, yo, did you battle Bird Keeper Jim? And then you're like, yeah, man, he sucks. His Spearow's terrible. And like, what are you talking about? This man had a Zapdos. And you're like, what? Like, there's just no real reason why they can't do that. Especially with the NPCs, where it's like it's not really attached to a story in any way, so they can kind of make them procedurally generated in certain aspects. And give them lives.
Honestly, and like within that too, one of the things that is just a pet peeve of mine, but in Pokemon Let's Go, anytime you're talking to somebody, their hand does the exact same hand gesture every time.
Oh yeah,
it's so annoying. Like, I mean, I don't really care, but it's one of those things where it's like it feels like not a lot of effort was put in for that reason, just because the cutscenes aren't even really cutscenes. It's just, you know, stuff like that. So it's something that I'd really love to see them execute upon better in the future, but we'll find out, or executor upon it better in the future.
Oh my
Otherwise,
God. I called on to that, and I didn't want to mention it. I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah,
but you did it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I did it anyway. Things happen that we don't expect, like Switch continuing to set records for sales, and January for the Switch.
I'm gonna give that segue a solid 4 because
out of 10,
I always expect it. Out of 500.
Oh, cool. Nice. Yes, it's Switch did real good in January. It was the highest it was the highest grossing January of any console this generation, which, I mean, we had Smash and we had Mario. So, like, you know, there you go. That's pretty much all we needed. But right. Yeah, it had the highest sales charts for NPD and beat out every other console for this generation in a January and had growth year over year. So all those things are really good.
It was like 100,000 gap for everybody.
Yeah.
It was like Microsoft was like 100,000 something, and then PlayStation was 200,000 something, and Switch was like 300,000 something.
Yeah, it was. Switch is doing good. Which I like, because, you know, I like the Switch. But that's pretty much it on that piece of news. So that's just a little trivia thing. We got 2 more little news things. I don't even have a segue for this one, but it's real short. Just that Resident Evil 0, 1, and 4, which we found out about a couple months ago that they were going to be coming in more than a couple months ago at this point. But we found out that they were going to be coming to the Switch, and by the end of the month, we'll have found out something more about them, apparently, which we've only got like what'd you say?
What even though? Like
dates? I don't know. That's all I can figure.
Yeah, like what information is there?
Dates and the fact that they're also going to be shiny.
4 and the design of 7. It's going to be a first-person game. You never knew it.
Yep.
But that's what's going to happen.
And they're remaking 1 again, but in the graphics of Pokemon Gold.
Very specifically gold.
Yep. Silver, get out of here. We don't even... Nuh-uh.
No.
So,
not at all.
Yeah, there we go.
And this nonsense about silver, this is a tangent. And
go
it's
for
your
it.
fault.
Yeah. I'm down.
Everybody being like, you got to get silver because Lugia is cooler. You're a fake Lugia fan because the Lugia in gold is better.
Accurate.
Significantly better.
Yeah.
In fact.
Because it's not one of those things where, like, I mean, if you could only get Lugia in silver, yes. If you could only... But correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, you get whichever one you pick, you get that one first at level 50 and then the next one at level 70, right?
Yes. And leveling in that region sucks.
It really does. Yeah, I remember playing. So a friend of mine and I we were emulating it back a bunch of years ago, which we shouldn't do, but I didn't know anything back then. And so both of us he was playing gold, I was playing silver, or the other way around. I don't know. But in any case, we decided like, oh, okay, we should, battle Pokemon against each other, which I've barely actually done much PvP battling. And he'd done way more grinding than I had. His Pokemon were all like level 100 and I was like, I don't know, 85 and stuff like that. But so I was kind of nervous going into it, but he didn't really know anything about typing or anything at all. And so I just wiped the floor with him because I was watching him as he was training at one point too, like as he was grinding, and which you can do at this point when you're level 93 or 95 or whatever. He was going out by Mount Silver or whatever and using flamethrower on gravelers and whatnot, which, like, again, if you're that level, that's fine. But because he was at high level, he didn't really know about the fact that, the typing and all that. So as soon as we got into battle, like, I just destroyed him and it was really good.
Yeah, something similar happened to me. It was a while ago. It was like a couple years ago, but it was like a more recent game. I think it was like X and Y. and a friend of mine was like, "Hey man, like we should battle or whatever. I have really strong Pokemon, and you'll probably never beat them." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, sure, why not?" And his Pokemon were like all level 100 legendaries. And I had like level 60s to like low 70s. But I EV trained them, and they had they had perfect IVs and stuff like that.
Nice. Yep.
I destroyed this man with 2 of my Pokemon. It was like rip. Like it was not even close.
Yep.
Like I don't know if you've been in any of the streams where my friend Miguel will come in and be like, "Yo, 1v1 me and Pokemon," or Smash Brothers was last week. And he just gets destroyed. Again, like with Smash Bros, I 3-stocked him, I think, both matches that we played, or all 3 matches or something like that. Because the first one, he was like, "Yo, you're not going to beat me." And then I destroyed him the first time. It's like, "Oh man, I got to pick a different character." He picked a different character, so did I. And I destroyed him again. And at the third match, he was like, "I'm just having fun." I was like, "Okay." I was like, "All right, man.
Works for me.
More power to you. More power to you."
Yep. No, that was, I did this the other night. So the other day I got to the point, I got Mewtwo. And so, he's level 70, and his Let's Go has CP in there too. So that's, a thing. And so his CP is like, I don't know, 4,900 or something like that, which is the highest of any of the Pokemon that I had. And then I had a Pidgeot because the first Pokemon that I did any like comboing with was Pidgeys, just so that I could get a bunch of quick candies and blah, 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 blah. And so I had a practically flawless IV Pidgeot, but not quite. But it was close. And I had 138 Pidgey candies, which is a thing in Pokemon Let's Go. Yeah. And so I gave all 138 of them to this one because I was like, that's going to be the Pidgeot that I'm going to stick with. And so he was level 39. Before the Pidgey candies, he was CP 2015 or something. And after it, he was CP like 5,020. And so, yeah, needless to say, he's like 301 HP and 250-ish everything else, all of his other stats at level 39. Yeah. Which is funny.
Candies in that game are broken.
Super broken. And it's just super. I actually need to go and I want to go up against the Master Trainer and just see how easy it is to destroy him with this Pidgeot now, because at this point, mine's going to be stronger than his just because of all of that. And the level is fairly irrelevant because it's not even what's taken into play or into consideration going into the, math of all of it and stuff. So
yeah,
it's fine.
I just, beyond that, like beyond the master trainers and stuff like that, I don't even bother with awakened values because I just play with the normal rules or set rules or whatever.
Right.
So it doesn't even take into account the awakening values. I just make sure that my my IVs are good.
Mm-hmm.
And then like whatever the team is and their moves and whatnot.
Yep. It's a fun time. Last thing that's a fun time, look at this, is more data mining for this is Joker in Smash, blah, blah, blah. We know about that. But apparently the stage...
What?
Yeah, I know. Look at that. Now you know, AJ, because you didn't before. The stage apparently is going to be the Memento stage, which I've never played Persona, so I don't know what that means. But people are either happy or sad about it on one end or the other. I wonder
if Batman knows that stage. Because he's going to have to find Joker on it.
Yep.
When's the Batman DLC coming?
Always. It's always coming. I don't know.
I missed that Wolfden video.
So I don't know. Oh, because Memento. I gotcha. Are you making a Chris Nolan reference or not? I don't know. Rip.
I'm too high level.
I know.
I'm just IQ. I watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah, I was about to say you watch Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
That said, when in the world are we going to get season 4? I would like it. That is all. And sentence. All right.
Exclusive on Switch.
I like Rick and Morty. All right, that's it for the news. Any more thoughts on any of those things?
No, news is great. I told you all. I told everybody about the Xbox thing, and none of you believed me. Every single person in the comments was like, "AJ, you're stupid. I'm unsubscribing." Everybody said that, Parker.
Everybody. Oh my goodness.
You saw it.
I did.
Even you.
With my eyeballs, with my elbows. I was just looking at it.
Everybody told me that would never, ever happen, and here we are.
here we are. Although I think it is interesting because the Xbox Live thing, like that in and of itself didn't necessarily mean any of this, but I mean, here we are. and it means
but it did.
Yep.
It did though.
Yeah. Before we go on to the other things, because I wasn't here last week, so my 2 cents on the Nintendo Direct, because I didn't get to say anything for the news last time because I was dead, it was a great Nintendo Direct, and even if you didn't care about the games in it, the pacing was phenomenal.
That's true.
That was, yeah, I think that was.
I think they spent a little bit too much time on Fire Emblem. And I don't know why they mentioned Rune Factory 5, but that could just be my bias. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I don't know anybody was like, Rune Factory 5?
Yep.
What? You know, like, okay, Rune Factory 5, sure, why not?
Yeah.
You know?
Apparently some people were happy, but I don't know any of them in person, so. But yeah, I think with the Fire Emblem thing, to me what it was, I think they actually spent a perfect amount of time on that game for it being the game that they told us they were going to talk about, because other times you know they've had games that they talked about like way too long, but that said, the content of what they talked about was kind of boring for non-fans,
and that's what I mean by like they talked about it too long, not like hard numbers of like they spent too many minutes on this. It was just like it got too long in the tooth in terms of they're deep in the woods. Deep in the weeds. Nobody cares about this. Yep. You know, like I don't know too many people that are like that excited about mechanics in an RPG. They could have just been like, hey, it's Fire Emblem Hogwarts, and here you go, come in on this date.
Yep.
And everybody would have been hunky dory.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that would have been like, you didn't let us see how the training system works.
I think, the biggest problem with it for me was just the fact that they like told us, it looks like a just kind of happy picturesque world of like, you're teaching these people how to fight these things, blah, 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 blah. But it never actually went into like, but here's the conflict and how you're going to need to use.
Dark.
Yes.
And you're forced to murder all your students.
Yep, that's what happens. But they never, like go into like, and you're trained because you trained them, they will be ready for this thing. And then like even just tease a little bit of like what the conflict is. And then it's like, oh, I see. There's purpose for training. Because if it's just training them for the sake of training them, that's kind of really boring.
They need to do, because like that's, I think I talked about this on last week's podcast. I don't know if you heard it because you were dead. But where it's a good way to like ingratiate yourself to them, where it's like, hey, here's these students, get attached because you taught them from when they were babies. They came to you and they had sticks and you gave them a sword. Yep. And now they're grown soldiers.
I mean, I have a friend that he would play the XCOM games and name all the characters after friends of his so that he cared about them and like didn't want them to die because it's permadeath and stuff. And I feel like this is a good way of just doing that.
Freaking
just like that.
Tom sucked, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Tom just had to go.
Just kill Tom. Straight up. I had a bunch more thoughts on it, but Dan did a good job of saying some thoughts that, I mean, everybody said good thoughts, but there were a bunch of times where I was like,
hold on, wait, 1 second.
Go for it.
I need to go longer on that last tangent. The first thing that came to my mind for the random name that I was going to pull up was Bob. And I was like, no, I actually have a friend named Bob. I can't say that one.
Okay, side note, another tangent. I was in 7th grade, so I was like 12 years old. And I was I was walking home from school, talking to a guy that lived close to me that was kind of a jerk, but whatever, talking to him anyway. And he was saying something about Bob. And I was like, you know what? Bob's one of those names that you always like hear. It's like a common name, but I've never actually met anybody named Bob. Like, I don't think there's anybody really named Bob. And meanwhile, I was talking to him and he was talking to our mailman, who was named Bob. And that was the whole reason the conversation existed. And I was, as a 7th grader, I was mortified. Like, I was so embarrassed.
Continuing this tangent, I think I've had this conversation with Bob a couple times where people don't believe that his name is Bob. Where it's like, my name is Bob. And they're like, what? Like, no, but like, what's your actual name? It's like, it's Bob. Like, that's funny. Obviously, his name's Robert. Right. But, you know. Yeah. But it's Bob. I just don't like. I know other people named Robert, but I don't know anybody else that goes by Bob.
I know there's a guy that works with me that's named Bob, or I mean, not named Bob, but named Robert, but goes by Bob as well. So we've got at least 2 in the world for whatever that's worth.
There's at least 2 of them. There's at least 2 of them. Speaking of at least 2, I had at least 2 people in my last video.
That's true. It was, and one of them was named Bob.
one of them was also Bob. And I talked about Zelda. As I am want to do.
You are want to do. You wanted to and you did it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was good. Bob had some good thoughts, and you had some good thoughts, and so I'm just going to go in order of some of the things and my thoughts on what those thoughts were. I think the point that, I mean, you'd made this at some point too, but then Bob made it in the video, of the fact that they showed us one art style and then very quickly showed us the art style of the game itself, and that people were disappointed by that. Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a great intro, and then I think the art style of the game is actually phenomenal. Like I'm really excited about it, and I think it looks really good. But I can understand why people, for that reason, would have seen something, gotten excited for like, oh, it's going to be like a, you know, anime hand drawn kind of aesthetic for this game, and kind of a little bit grown up or like artistic looking, you know, like Breath of the Wild is sort of, or even kind of like Skyward Sword is. And then they got the more like claymation-y, it's sort of like, you know, hyper shiny sort of things. Honestly, it reminds me a bit of Unreal Engine 4 demos of games. Like if somebody makes Ocarina of Time in Unreal Engine, except for, I mean, the aesthetic of it in the shininess, not so much in the actual, you know, art style,
like the assets themselves.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
but yeah, I thought that was a good point.
On that level, it's just like I don't, as far as like fans of the series, of even Nintendo in general, I don't sympathize with you at all. I don't feel bad, you know, because it's like, we've been through this and it's been a thing for forever. And it's not even like, I talked a lot about how like they deal with a lot in Zelda. It's not just Zelda.
Right.
Like when Pokemon has promotion for their Pokemon games, they show anime art styles and the game doesn't look like that, you know? And I think that it could very well be them being like, okay, let's remake the game how the game looked, but like how it looks, how it would look now, you know? Because the art style of the gameplay is very akin to what it looked like back then, just not pixels, you know? And the intro is pretty one-to-one with the other one, just with some extra bits. Like the other one wasn't, it didn't look just like the gameplay of the original game.
Right.
Either,
yeah. Like Link looked like, he looked like the Link of the TV show Zelda back in the, you know, back in the 90s or 80s or whatever. And
it was just much more dramatic and cinematic than the game itself.
Yes.
And that's what we have here in the intro compared to the gameplay.
Yep.
But next thought,
yep.
I guess.
Yeah. People talking about the price. Again, we don't even know that it's $60, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were $60, just because, you know, I mean, like that's par for the course, and that's
just how much Switch games cost.
Yeah, and it would be setting a difficult precedent for them to say like, okay, this one's $40 because it's a remake of an older game, and because so therefore other games like, you know, like then people will be comparing it to that in the future, and like that's just not.
Yeah. That's why Virtual Console's dead.
Yes, right, exactly. And so it's better to just be like, new games are $60. I mean, and have every once in a while some exceptions, but most of those are in, like Sushi Striker was a 3D game that then, you know, there's some exceptions, but they're pretty obvious what they are. Right. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of, I mean, we've talked about it before with plenty of other things, but like, it's just going to be $60 and it's going to be a good game and whatever. I'm sure some of these comments will talk about some of these things. But
just like, you know, pay for your games, hashtag free product.
Pay for your games, AJ. You pay for my games.
I mean, to be fair, I pay for my games. I just don't pay for the games that I talk about to an audience of people.
I just don't pay for the games that I want to play. That I work for. When I play, I'm just kidding.
I'm working for them though.
Yes, accurate.
So that I earned them.
Yep.
Ask Nintendo. It's not this ain't no handout. I paid $100 for Kingdom Hearts. Okay.
Accurate. Yeah, paying for games.
All right, moving on.
We should do it. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, again, some comments I'm sure we'll get into it, so we'll talk about it more in detail with that. But and then you mentioned quality of life updates, which is great, and the thing that like Game Explained pointed out, and that you can, you know, jump with that stuff's just going to be very nice. I've played, it's been a long time, but Link's Awakening was my second Zelda game ever, I think. First was Ocarina of Time, and then second was Link's Awakening. Man, I still love the N64, but I know that's
dumb, and you have the roses all over you.
Oh,
that's the
I
saying,
also
right?
love the roses. Yeah, that's how that phrase goes. It's you've got rose-colored roses all over you. Yeah, so quality of life updates are great. And then the last, I think this one was interesting. This wasn't a comment on the video specifically, but so my friend we were talking about it, and he was like, yeah, I don't know. We normally watch directs together, but he was working and I was working from home or whatever when I watched it. He was like, I just don't know about that Zelda game that was at the end, because like I don't know if it's the kind of style of game that I'd want to play. But he loved Breath of the Wild, but then something about the 2D game, it felt like old to him or something. I should have gotten more kind of detail on what he was thinking about it, but just that somehow the 2D Zelda game seems like antiquated or old timey or something. It doesn't feel like new and fun and fresh.
Yeah, I can see that. I think that the Zelda formula as a whole, outside of Breath of the Wild, obviously, does feel like that. So yeah. I could definitely see that. I think that Logan was a similar way, not with this game specifically, but like the 2D ones. Like I don't think Logan has ever like fully played through a 2D Zelda game. Right. Mostly because like that's a 2D game, old game is old. Like I don't think Logan's ever had an SNES, So, and more recently he's played some like indie games and stuff like that, but I don't think he's played like Shovel Knight, like stuff like that. So yeah, some people are just like that. With that sort of style of game. And it is interesting
to me because it's like I don't see a Metroidvania, like a side-scrolling Metroidvania, and think like, oh, that's an old style game that I wouldn't. I mean, Hollow Knight's one of my favorite games on the Switch.
Never played it.
It's so good, man. It's
never played it.
For anybody who's played a little bit of it and then kind of stopped, like I think there's a learning curve up until you get, I don't know, probably like an hour and a half or so is a little bit rougher because you don't really know where you're going. And it's kind of the tutorial-y. Well, it's not even a tutorial section. It's more like a Mario game in the sense that you just kind of go around and figure some stuff out. And you're like, oh, there's a thing. And like, oh, I died. But then
I don't even have that game. I feel like that was just a game. And I don't remember when it came to Switch. But I feel like it was just one of those games that missed me because of other stuff. And now it's missing me because Smash Brothers exists. But like, I didn't even like get an email or email anybody about that game because it was just like other stuff that was just like I'd rather talk about at that time.
Yep. I think it was September-ish maybe of last year. I don't know. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, that can't be right because maybe it was. I don't even know.
I remember a lot of people were telling Bob to stream it, and that might have been another thing. It was just like one of those things that like we're getting bombarded with play this, and then like part of you is just like I kind of just don't want to now.
I remember actually I did watch a little bit of the stream of Bob playing it, and he was kind of like, I don't know, what's all this stuff, and like wasn't super into it, but which I mean is also fine. And it's one of those things. It's not for everyone, and blah 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 blah. But I thought it was a great time.
I just think our expectations kind of get skewed by stuff like that, which is kind of weird. Yeah. Because, like, we do that, Like, our job is to be like, yo, this is cool, Yeah. So to have people say that to us back, and some of those times it just falls flat. And it's like, but, like, everybody's saying that. And I think you're going to be skewing my expectations. And I play this game, and it's like, it's not that good,
right?
Like, just trying to avoid that part of it.
Yep.
Of, like, if we're not already into it and want to play it, then it's hard to get into something like that.
Yep.
That's not saying I won't play it. I'm probably going to play it, but it's going to take me a while.
Yep. No, honestly, I'm the same way with a lot of music stuff. Like there's specific people that I really trust recommendations from. And then otherwise, there's a lot of people that'll tell me recommendations and I just don't really care about wanting to like those things, which is really dumb and like probably kind of quote unquote hipstery of me to do that. And
see,
but like
it's not even necessarily the source,
right?
It could be like a lot of YouTubers, like other YouTuber friends that are like, yo, this game's great. And like once it gets to a certain threshold of everybody berating you, or not berating you, that's not the right word, but everybody's saying like, "Hey, play this game,"
like bombarding you or something with it.
Yeah, like I just kind of don't want to now. But like if it's like a couple people or like just Bob or me with Celeste, which Bob is stupid. And it was like, Bob, I'm telling, because they sent me like it was like before it was like a big deal and stuff like that. Like I don't even think I reached. I think they emailed me.
Oh wow!
And it was like, "Hey, here's this game. Play it. Here's the embargo, whatever." And I emailed Bob and I'm like, "Yo, you gotta play Celeste. This game is dope." And Bob's like, "I don't know, Bob, but I'm telling him forever, play Celeste, play Celeste, play Celeste." And he's like, "All right, I'll play it during the stream." It's like, "Yo, this is my game of the year." I'm like, "I told you, you stupid idiot. You dumb, you stupid." That's what I said.
Yep. That's exactly what you said. It's good, real good grammars right there.
It probably is exactly what I said.
And Celeste is great. No, but it's just funny to think that like, but I mean, I understand at the same time too, because like I didn't start playing indie games until, let's see, what was the first? Okay, so the first indie game that I played probably ever, I guess, was early on in the Switch. Kamiko came out, and it was only $5, but I think my expectations were still kind of skewed for it. That it was like, it looks kind of like a Zelda sort of game, and I was expecting that like, you know, games just have a certain set length or whatever. And that was the first time I was a little disappointed by getting to the end of it and being like, oh, it only takes like an hour to beat the story as one character. And then there's actually a lot of replay value, but it's more like, I don't know, speedrunnery kind of stuff.
Also, isn't that game like $2?
Yeah, it's like, it was like $5 at the time. It's probably been cheaper a lot of other times, but like that's nothing. But because it was my first indie game, I just didn't have the right kind of framework or mindset for it, but then started to get a little bit better of an idea going through. And so I think with some people, it's just like, you know, you're used to Monster Hunter World and putting in 200 hours into it. And so it's like, that's what a game is, which I totally get that as well. So it's, so that said, kind of going back to the 2D Zelda thing, is if it doesn't feel like it's going to be an engrossing and expansive thing, then I could see how somebody would be wary of that. But I mean, I'm super excited for it. Again, Link's Awakening was my second Zelda game and it was great. So
I never beat it. I'd be down.
Yep.
Give it to me.
And they will. Oh, So Animated says this could be the first step into that whole quote unquote a Zelda game every year releasing on the Switch thing. If this game sells,
hey, you're a liar. It already happened. Yeah. We got a Zelda game every single year so far. How dare you? All right, continue.
Hot takes. If this game sells well, then maybe Nintendo will branch out more resources to maybe remake some of their other classics. Hear me out. Sure, we got remakes of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, but never got an HD remake. What if this is the start of that trend? I think this could definitely be a discussion for a future video or podcast, perhaps. HD remakes of some of their Game Boy Zelda games. There is a lot of potential here, provided this game sells well enough. Highly doubt it'll come close to Breath of the Wild numbers, but a fraction of that for an older game that's been modernized would still be very good for Nintendo.
Yes. I think that would make a lot of sense for them to do, especially with their, like, I mean, they kind of were already on that track with their 3D Zelda games for the most part, where they were like trying out the art styles for Breath of the Wild. And I'm like, what about a Wind Waker thing? Nah. What about Twilight Princess? Nah. You know. What about Skyward Sword? And then like that's where like that rumor came out. Like, oh, we already have the game. Like maybe we'll do it.
Yeah.
So I could see them doing that, and it kind of would be like stupid of them at this point to not remake Ocarina of Time, because everybody's real dumb and they like that game a lot. You might know.
You're
about
welcome.
That. You
I surely do.
You might know about those people, Parker. So maybe they'll remake the game and actually make it tolerable for us sane people. Just make it Breath of the Wild. You know what I mean? Just remake every Zelda game as Breath of the Wild. Do the Resident Evil 2 equivalent of Zelda games and remake them to be actually good.
I mean, I love Breath of the Wild, so I mean, I'm not arguing there in some ways, but yeah, no, I mean, it would be interesting. I think the curious bit of that would be their, like how they spread it out, because on one hand, it seems like, all right, what if they just like do all of them so they all just come out now? But I mean, same goes for like the Pokemon games. I think that's been an interesting framework of, you know, making new games and remaking old games kind of at the same time, but people are still begging for Gen 4 to be remade, right?
Yeah. Gen 4 is the thing.
And so who knows when that's going to happen, if that's going to happen. So I think the problem with doing a ton of remakes, which they are already kind of setting themselves up for, is just there's no problem with it in and of itself, I don't think. It's just the fact that then it sets up precedent for wanting new ones and all that kind of thing.
And everybody's like, but what about the other one you promised us indirectly?
And then, yeah, exactly. And then if they stop at any point and then have done, most of them, but not all of them, or, if they do some of the handheld ones, but then don't do, I don't know, Spirit Tracks or something like that, then people will be mad because wondering, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah, because people... like they take patterns as a rule,
right? Yes,
like they're like, well, we got Leaf Green, and we got Heart Gold, and we got Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. We got all that stuff. So obviously we're going to get this, and we're owed it because they told us. Yep. But they never flat out said, hey, this is our roadmap, and these are the games that we're going to make.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost dangerous in that way, where if you do set up this pattern, people are going to, it might as well be a rule because people are going to expect it out of you now.
Yeah.
Unless they hate it, which
true.
I mean, ideally they don't.
Yeah. No, I think that's, So Animated, you make a great point. And I think in a perfect world, I would love to see HD remakes of all these games. And I think that's the only thing is we just have to set ourselves up as fans to not like be expecting the world and that all of them would come, but kind of just be happy with everything that does come and, just hope for everything.
Just take what you get, you know? I'm hoping personally that they just chop down all those roses that Parker got floating around, you know what I mean? And make Ocarina of Time an actually good game. Next comment.
Next comment. Preston Casey. Initially, fans just want to see gritty, realistic graphics just because it's some sort of misplaced expectation. The Western audience, I feel, is a plague when they become kind of bratty about reveals like this. I think people like us who appreciate the charm of the reveal truly understand the game in its original form, or just understand that we can appreciate a team's hard work on a certain aesthetic. When I saw the gameplay, I was thrown off, but not in a bad way. I initially was expecting something like A Link Between Worlds before it cut to the plastic look, but I was happy anyway because I already knew what the game was like. As for other people, I really just do not care about how people are reacting over it because it's just radiant in negativity towards something so unnecessarily.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it is like this very Western thing of like, you made me want something and then you didn't give it to me. I'm owed that thing that you made me want. It's kind of like, I think me and Logan have talked about this in the past, if not on a podcast, just like outside of this whole thing, where it's like, oh, well, yeah, that's the danger of like making these videos of like, this is how cool this like IP could be theoretically. If it doesn't happen, then you get disappointed. It's like, but I don't though. Like, I understand that me saying I want something does not mean that it needs to come to pass for me to appreciate what it ends up being. Right. You know? It just the joy that I get out of doing it is when a situation like what is a game that I like? There's been a couple of games where I was like, they need to just do this, and they did that, and I'm like, cool, you know, like I'm down. Like the Switch, before the Switch came out and it was still Nintendo NX, I literally said what processor they were going to put it. I literally said that they were going to put the what was at the time the Tegra K1 chip, that they're going to put that in there, and it was going to be Wii U in reverse, where the set top, it would be like a set top sort of situation that you put your console in, which is the handheld and also has the brains in it, and the Switch is the Switch. And then that happened, you know. But if that weren't to happen, I wouldn't have been like, oh, I'm not buying that. That's not what I wanted, you know. Like, it's cool when it does happen, as long as it's a good thing. When it doesn't, fine. You know, like when I made that Kirby Star Allies video, right, and I was like, I want a Kirby game that's like more ambitious. If it just so happened that Kirby Star Allies was Donkey Kong Country like Returns or Tropical Freeze or whatever, and it was just like a really good version of what used to be, then I'm like, okay, cool, I'm down. When I'm disappointed is when it's just not a game that I want to play in general, you know, where it's like, this isn't an interesting game. You know, it doesn't have to be the idealized version of what I want it to be, but like, I at least want it to be good. And I think that this isn't a situation like where we're worrying, will this be good? You know, it's going to be.
Yeah, I think part of what creativity can be is like taking a concept and just, I mean, is just figuring out all the different directions in which it could go. So the goal is, even if you're coming up with like 3 different directions going off to the left, if Nintendo comes up with a creative direction that's going off a completely different direction, but is still creative and fun, then that's awesome. The problem is if, like you said, with Kirby Star Allies, it doesn't branch off far enough at all and kind of just sticks around to where it already is. So then the issue isn't like, oh, it's not what I wanted. It's more like it's just not anything that we don't already have. It's not anything worth something new. Yeah, right. That kind of thing. And as far as Preston's comment with the, I actually thought the exact same thing, where I was thrown off at first by the look, where I was like, whoa, that's different, but immediately was like, all right, but it's dope. Like that's just neat. Whatever it is, I'm down.
I'd have to go back. I don't know if that archive is still up, but I had to go back to that and see how I reacted, because I don't think that I was thrown off. I was just like, oh, cool. It's Link's Awakening. That's the thing that it is. And then the art style happened. I was like, oh, okay, cool. All right.
Yeah, I mean, like immediately as soon as the cutscene got to, I think like the lightning strike. So like right towards the beginning, I was like, hey, that's Link's Awakening. But yeah, and when they started playing it, honestly, because we had just seen the stuff for Yoshi a minute before that. No, yeah. Did they mention in there the demo was coming, or was that somewhere else? I think they mentioned it in there. I don't know. In any case, we knew a demo was coming that day. And so
I do know that they had like the Yoshi egg, and that's when everybody was like, they teased Link's Awakening right before our very eyes, and we didn't even know.
But you know, like I knew I was excited to try out the Yoshi demo, and then they had this art style, which was to me very reminiscent of kind of, you know, that sort of crafted world sort of thing. So I was just excited to see it. And I was like, that's so cute. And I was watching with my wife, and she's like, that's so cute. So all good stuff. All good stuff. Another good stuff. Patrick Jackal. My only gripe with Link's Awakening art style is that the original had a more ambitious looking Link in the intro video's drawings than in the actual gameplay because of the limitations of the Game Boy. So I was hoping that the Link in the Switch version gameplay looked more like the Link in the intro, since the console limitations are not there anymore. Also, I don't like how Link is kind of shiny in the Switch version and looks like a plastic toy. However, this game still looks phenomenal, and I can't wait to play it.
I mean, is that why though? Like, did they ever say that?
Did they ever say what? Oh, that was like why he looked different? That's the
reason why he looked like that. Like, obviously, they couldn't have made him look like what the promotional art looks like. But does that then mean that they wanted him to look like how he looks like in that art? Right? Like, because I would assume that if that's what they wanted, that's what we would have.
Right. I don't know. My suspicion is probably that, yeah, they were like, all right, in the art, we're going to make him look real good because we can. And then in the other stuff, they're like, this is the best we can come up with these number of bits. Because otherwise, I mean, like before that, we had Zelda 2, in which he actually does look more like he does in the art, you know, in that kind of thing. But it's a completely different game. It's not top down. So like you can't really... I don't know. I mean, maybe because it's top down, they just wanted to. Otherwise, yeah, maybe they could have done it a little bit better with the number of bits they had and made him look a little more like Link, but they wanted him to stay closer to what he looked like in original Legend of Zelda on the NES. I don't know. Something like that. Because that's just like what his top down
I just think that they're all right with him looking goofy in this game. Because, like, doesn't his sprite have one shoe in Link's Awakening?
It might.
It looks like his sprite has one shoe.
Yeah.
So, like, stuff like that tells me that, like, they just didn't take this game as seriously as you think they are. And it's not like this. The Legend of Zelda is not Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Right. And especially with this being the one that's in the dream and all the goofy stuff in there. It's... Yeah. It is funny. I completely forgot that like Mario is pretty much in this game, and I mean I remembered the look of that guy in my mind. The one that I think he's the one at the raft boat place. But then just like somebody pointed out, yeah, that's pretty much the Mario sprite. And I looked back, I was like, yeah, that's pretty much the Mario sprite.
Yeah, there's so many Nintendo characters. There's Goombas.
Yep. And it's honestly, it's funny too, because that's something I didn't realize at the time. Again, I just didn't know that was weird at all. Like I was just used to that as the way it was. And then only now I'm realizing like, yeah, that was weird that there was Goombas in there. But otherwise, I think, Patrick, that's a very reasonable way to feel. I mean that, you know, you don't specifically love the art style, but you're still excited about the game. I like that. And, we'll see if we warm up to the art style over time. I think some of those things just maybe take some time, or even if you hate it in the long run, that's fine too.
I'm just saying, Patrick, you'll be on the wrong side of history. It's going to be Wind Waker all over again. You should feel bad about yourself. You should think about this, bud.
Yep.
No, I'm joking.
All right, last comments. This one's kind of a long one, so here we go. Triple Jump says, nice pun title. Personally, while I am not planning on getting this game, why are you not getting it, Triple Jump? It's amazing to me because it completely reinvents what it means to be a Nintendo remake. Before this point, remakes needed to be unwaveringly faithful to their original game. So Super Mario Bros. Deluxe looked exactly like Super Mario Bros. With some added challenges. Link to the Past GBA looked like Link to the Past but with voice clips. Diddy Kong Racing DS looked like Diddy Kong Racing but with new stylus controls. Wind Waker HD looks exactly the same besides the HD buff with a few quality of life changes. And while all of these games probably have various minor graphical enhancements, they're unmistakably the same game as their predecessors. This new Link's Awakening does something I've only seen Crash and Spyro, and to an extent Kirby, do. Take games from several generations ago and completely rework them and modernize them like they could have come out today. If this game followed the rules of the last games, it would still have the same pixelated graphical style of the original with a little extra detail and a run button. This intrigues me because since it redefines what it means to be a Nintendo remake, it opens the floodgates for infinite possibilities. Imagine Super Mario Land 2 in a modern style, or Zelda 1, or Wario Land, or any other NES or Game Boy game. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. If they remake Oracle of Seasons in this style, it's an insta-buy for me. Heck yeah, Triple Jump, Oracle of Seasons, all the way.
I don't know about that, because I feel like the games that he mentioned are all games that were remade in contemporary styles, like they look like their original versions, but they're contemporary with everything else on that platform. Like Wind Waker didn't look out of place on Wii U. Right. It looked like a game that would be on Wii U. Donkey Kong Racing DS didn't look out of place on DS. Link to the Past on GBA didn't look out of place, Mario, so on and so forth. Like when they remake something, it's usually to something that's analogous to the thing that they're remaking. It just looks a little bit more rough on the older hardware. In this case, they had to essentially completely reinvent the game to make it look contemporary and make it look like a Switch game.
Yeah.
So it's not really something of like, okay, yeah, and if you really compare it and you really look at it and like you do a like one-to-one comparison, it kind of does look like a modernized version of a Game Boy game, And that's what everybody's complaining about, is that it looks like a Game Boy game. He has like the Game Boy character eyes and everything, I
think, and part of it too is a distinction maybe to be made is Nintendo hasn't ventured that much into actual remakes. I mean, maybe this is just a different way of saying the same thing, but Nintendo just hasn't really ventured into remakes in the same way that they've done ports a bunch. So all the ones listed there pretty much are just ports to, so like Super Mario Bros. Deluxe was Super Mario Bros. But to a Game Boy. Link to the Past GBA.
That all falls into like, that's all semantics.
Right. Well,
where it's like, what is a remake?
Right. Exactly. Really? And so, but I think the thing for that is they were porting it to like an equivalent handheld form. Besides Wind Waker HD, of those three examples, Super Mario Bros., Link to the Past, and Diddy Kong Racing, it was just like, all right, now we've got a handheld that can play this game, as well as the original could. So like, same Super Mario 64 DS is pretty much Super Mario 64 with a bunch of added stuff. But the art style is the same because that's as much as the DS could handle, was pretty much, doing that. So I think there's a lot of stuff where this maybe is the first time. I feel like there's other examples, but I just can't come up with any on the top of my head. So maybe there's not, but
like with Crash and Spyro, I wouldn't say that they're even as drastic as this.
I would agree. Yeah.
They very much so look like the PlayStation games, but just not with PlayStation level technology,
which is great. I mean, it's awesome that they look similar to that. But I think, with this one, the difference between the hardware too is, I mean, not just between the hardware, but like as far as kind of, I mean, because the Game Boy was just like pixel stuff.
Not even like on a. It is like a technical level, but not like on a pure technical level in terms of like computing power.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
The difference just on a human level of I looked at that screen and this looks night and day to the other screen that I just looked at. is drastically different from when you look at a PlayStation game compared to a PlayStation 4 game. When you look at a PlayStation 3D game, it's like, okay, this looks rough, but I can see how this turned into that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at a Game Boy game and then you look at a Switch game, it's like, okay, but like how though?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, I think honestly, when I was first reading through this comment, I disagreed with it more than I do now as thinking about it more, because I think what it really is that it Triple Jump, the way you were saying it, kind of made it sound like they were like unwilling to, or like we're trying to do things that were more kind of keeping with the style as closely as possible. Well, actually, you know what? Yes. Right. Here's one.
I think that is what he said.
Yes.
I think he is saying that their rule has been up until now to try to keep the games faithful. I think they are trying to keep the games faithful. It's just, what does faithful mean when you have this large of a gap in when the games were released and technologically and all that
The
stuff?
answer is Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. That's the one I was trying to think of. I think that's one of the first ones.
That game is very much so that, you know, where it is this, like, it's a Game Boy game.
Yeah, and so I think that's at the point where we're at now, is if they do start making remakes, it'll be, and they're really faithful, just as far as there's a lot of quality of life changes in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and there's a lot of like little changes as far as addition of even story points and any of that kind of stuff, and trainers in different spots and some end game things, you know, all those kinds of things.
It's what if we release this game but now, rather than like, let's remake this from the ground up. You know?
But like, you know, this dude standing with his Poliwrath is in the same exact spot. So like Nintendo really does seem to care about keeping those kinds of details. Like the things that existed, they want those to still exist in this new one, at least from what we've seen of Link's Awakening and similarly of Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. They wanted the things that did exist to still exist in the same way, but then add on some other stuff on top of that as well. But, you know, again, the graphical style for both of them was kind of just overhauled and remade from the ground up to look really different. But again, similar in pretty much like you said, how it would look now if it had come out at this point instead of back then. Off of that topic, I'm curious, AJ, what would be if you had one Nintendo game that's like some old Nintendo game to be completely remade from the ground up? Which one would it be?
If it was remade from, So does this game have to be remade from the ground up and be like the game? So like if it was like a 2D side scroller sort of situation, would it have to also be a 2D side scroller but just HD?
So yeah, let's say it's not any kind of like reboot of it or whatever. It's just like pretty much they can add some things on top of it, but otherwise kind of like Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu or like this one, like pretty much the same in a lot of ways.
All right, because I was going to say Ice Climbers, but I can't do that now.
Yeah, that's totally different.
Kid Icarus. Give me Kid Icarus.
Okay.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Even though we already have like what that looks like.
Right.
So now I take that back. I take it back. Give me Duck Hunt. I want a Duck Hunt game.
I'm trying to think. I think for me, honestly, it might be the next Game Boy Zelda game. So Oracle of Seasons and Oracle of Ages for me. Just because they're so good. Well, actually, no, I say that. I've only played Seasons. I haven't played Ages before because I didn't have all the money when I was a kid.
Did anybody play Ages?
That is a great question.
Everybody I talked to played Seasons.
I think the art style for Seasons not the art style of the game, but the box art looked a little bit better or something. Because I remember so again, I wasn't living in the US at the time. And so I wasn't used to American currency and stuff. So I went to the store and I had a couple silver dollars or whatever, which, you know, it's $1 in a coin, as well as having, I don't know, $25. So say I had $25 in bills and then I had some, you know, a couple silver dollars as well, and then a bunch of quarters, and I didn't know the difference between the silver dollars and the quarters, and so I gave it to the lady and was like, here you go, I'm buying this game for $31. She's like, dude, this is not nearly enough money, because I had given her like, I don't know, 27 and a bunch of quarters. And so I had to go back to my parents and be like, can you give me some more money? Because I was really dumb. But that was the first game that I like bought with my own money, and it was exciting and fun. The end.
I don't even remember the first game I bought with my own money. What if I just never did? Would it like that would be like the ideal thing, you know? Yep. If like as a kid, you're like, oh yeah, my parents buy a game, and then I have a YouTube channel and I never bought a game again. But that's not the case.
Nope.
But I don't know what the first thing that it was probably like a Pokemon game.
Yeah,
it's probably like a DS Pokemon game or something like that.
Yep.
But who knows?
I don't know. Yeah, but overall, I am really excited about this game, and man, I'm just so excited about this game. It was such an awesome announcement. Like, it made me so happy. So I hope everybody else plays it. And I think Triple Jump, you're right. Sales are not going to be anything like Breath of the Wild's, but they'll be something. I mean, I'm guessing at least over 5 million easy.
Yeah, it's not going to sell 10 million, but it's going to sell more than an average Zelda game like this.
Yeah, for sure. So there you go.
There it is. And next up is your video.
Yeah.
That everybody should watch. So we've been working on this format. We've been trying to figure out what works and what people want to watch and stuff like that. And I think this format works, but now it's just on our end of like packaging it. And I think that it'll like grow over time. And also it's a thing of like the people that listen to the podcast don't really know who you are, so they click on the video and they're like, wait, is this the right channel? This isn't the AJ guy. Like, I feel like a lot of people even do that with Logan. Like, I'll see comments on there like, wait, what happened to AJ?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, Logan's been here for forever. I mean, he's gone a lot, but he's been here, you know. So I think it's even more exaggerated when they click on it and they're like, oh wait, this dude isn't AJ, he's very not AJ. You know,
maybe it would be good for me to actually just like have some short sentence in there right at the beginning that says, I don't know, that explains that very briefly somehow.
Or even do like what Bob and Will did this week, where Bob was in Will's video.
Yeah.
And like do it on that level. But it's just like we need to find a video where that would like make sense. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Or just like, you know, just keep making them until people like it, you know?
And it is, I think, yeah, this format felt a lot better from my perspective too. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I honestly, like, after my second one or whatever, I was feeling real bad. Just like, man, I am not cut out for this, and these suck. And then after making this one, I'm like, all right, it's a bit better. It feels more polished.
I watched that, and it felt like exactly what I thought it should.
Perfect.
I was like, and that's why I messaged you. I was like, yo, this is dope. You know, like it felt like a direct.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And I think that's what that format should be. It's definitely a thing of like, hey, here's a bunch of games that you probably didn't know, all compiled in this real compact like package of, you know, like take it or leave whatever in here you don't or do like and get it, you know?
I mean, there's not plenty directs, but there's enough directs that have happened that I probably haven't gotten any games in the direct, but it was just fun to watch it and be like, ooh, that thing and that thing there. So yeah. Exactly. Trying to do that. If anybody's listening and you want to feel like you're watching a direct every single week, stop on by and watch the videos.
Check it on out.
Yeah.
Check it on out.
So, but I don't think will be one that has a lot of comments on the videos most of the time, but I don't know.
I think it will as more people begin to watch it.
Cool.
And it really just depends on like how opinionated you can get with it while keeping it in that bite-sized thing. If you're able to be like, and this game is stupid, you know, or not necessarily that, you know, but like some sort of bit that people catch on to. And because like that's what you'll usually see in comments. People latch on to something very specific where I'll say in a video of like, I think that it's ridiculous that people don't like blank. And then everybody's like, I don't think it's ridiculous because this, and this. And then you'll see like a lot of different versions of people agreeing or disagreeing with one very specific aspect of the video. It's just giving people that one specific thing on each game so that they catch on to the game that they care about, you know?
I still see comments on Arlo's stuff. There was a video he did for like forever ago where he was saying something about like he should be one of the game grumps, and he said something, he was like, I even come up with my own catchphrase like butternut squash, yes please. And he just said that the one time, a couple of times in that video, and to this day it's been like 9 months and people still comment that everywhere. I'm like, guys, it's really old now. But yeah, you know, there you go. I
mean, it's just like, hey, did you know that Super Mario Bros. 2 is like, that's the thing. Don't and then like for a while waffles were a bit for us. Like it's just there's a lot of bits that happen that people just latch on to. And I think also having those, like what you did in the, like with the prop comedy and stuff, like that's the sort of thing that creates bits, you know? And that's the thing that people latch onto. And I think that just having more of that and having people just watch it organically, and then they'll see it and be like, oh yeah, I like that. I'll come back for that, you know?
Cool.
And I think the premieres also kind of ritualizes the whole thing and makes it a part of people's days.
Yeah.
So I think that just as people know that, like, oh, this is a thing that happens every week on this day at this time, and I have this community around me that's also doing this thing at this time on this day, I'll do this again next week, you know?
Yep. It's a good old time.
Yep.
But yeah, so the two comments that we did have, well, we had some more comments, but these ones are the ones that we pulled. Gazencha Fox, what's up, Gazencha Fox? Said, probably Toe Jam and Earl, for which of these has my attention the most, aside Deltarune, which is already preloaded because preloading free games is apparently now a thing.
Yeah, I was confused by that because I saw you say that that was releasing this week. And I was like, wait, what? I had this on my Switch for forever now. I just didn't turn it on. But that's why I didn't know, because I never even attempted to turn it on. So it's like, all right, well, fine. I guess not.
Yeah,
you know?
that is odd because like it's like pre-purchasing, but something that's free. So then it's just like, oh, here it is.
And also digital. Like,
right, yeah.
It's so weird.
It is weird.
It's so weird. Even like if a free game was like, which I don't know why a brick and mortar would do that, but like if pre-ordering a free game at a brick and mortar would make sense because inventory. But digital is like, I just don't get it. I don't understand.
I mean, I guess all I can think is that it's like it's on your mind at the time, so go ahead and like grab it now, so that like maybe people won't go look at the eShop later, but right now they'll pay attention to just the fact that it is somewhere, you know. So that's all I can think.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a huge RPG fan or whatever. But this doesn't seem like the type of game that's like, oh yeah, midnight launch, baby. You know, like as soon as the clock strikes 12, I'm playing it. You know, like. So I don't understand it.
Especially because some of it's on PC anyway.
You were looking at the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also that.
But Sam Diaz says, "Awesome P looks awesome. I'm digging the barf green." True that. So there you go.
That's on brand. Sam Diaz said something. Was it during Wolfden? It was all that stuff bleeds together for me, you know?
Yeah.
But he said he was basically comparing how he comments on a Fanatics 4 video versus how he comments on Wolfden, where it's like always like a meme on Wolfden, and on our content it's like this like well thought out thing. I think he's trying to middle it all out now. Yep. He's trying to be a meme everywhere.
Good stuff. Thanks, Sam. You're doing it.
You're doing it.
All right, and that's it. We got some Q&A. Some of these are reruns a little bit for us because they were part of that video that got cut off and whatever last time or 2 times ago, but we didn't actually get recorded anywhere. So now here we are.
Yeah, Rip.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What if it happened again and we don't even know? Wait, I gotta look at my waveform.
Yeah, okay,
we're
check
good.
It.
We're good, everybody.
Cool.
We're fine.
Yeah. I was just glad it wasn't me. Like that would have been, especially for being the, you know, sort of guest-ish on here, I would have felt awful it being on my side.
I was so bummed out.
You really were. It made me so sad for you.
That completely deflated me. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to look at the fact that this was even a thing. I barely wanted to upload it. It was just like a thing of like that is rough.
Yeah.
You know, like that sucks.
Yep. But nevertheless,
like, I can't even imagine.
Here we are answering the questions again because we're good old friends like that.
See, it's a good thing we're 2 weeks removed because I don't even remember. See, I was like, wait, did we answer this?
You know, I don't remember which of these we did or didn't, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's also true because like I said, just talking in general with people that I also make videos with,
right.
I never know. Yeah. I never know, even if it's a DM, I never know if I like said it in a podcast or on a stream or in a video or whatever. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I talked about this with Bob, and people are like, "What?" And oh, that must have been a DM. You know, it's like I just never know at this point.
Yep. The first one though is Bebop asks favorite indies on Switch? Question mark.
That small little indie Game Freak. That one. No. My favorite indie game on Switch, I guess, would have to be Playtime. I guess Stardew.
Yeah.
I'm playing Stardew more. Remember how I like pick it up and then I don't for forever, and then I do again. We're back on that again.
Nice.
But it's not even because of me. It's because of my aunt, who was, I don't know if you saw that stream, but she was in one of the Smash Brothers streams before Smash Brothers Ultimate came out. And maybe in a Mario Party stream. I don't know. She's been in streams before. She has it. And she's like, yo, let's do co-op. I'm like, yeah, let's do co-op.
Yeah.
And then like, co-op.
I haven't done any of the co-op stuff on it, but that sounds fun.
It is fun. It's weird, though. It's very strange because, like, we both were focusing on different things. Like, she's focusing on mining and I'm focusing on fishing because I'm addicted to it. And, like, she'll, like, be mining and going down floors and it, like, lags. And that's, like, the only time it lags. Like, it's, like, I'll be fishing and the bar's going up and then, like, the bar just drops down to the bottom and it, like, kind of skips the music a little bit and then she goes to the next floor. I'm like, yo, that's so dumb. That's so stupid.
AJ, did you know the fishing is really hard in Stardew Valley? I'm just kidding. No, yeah.
I heard so many people saying that before I played the game and then I did it and I was like, I almost feel like I got good at it just because everybody said it was hard, but I never, like, actively thought it was hard, if that makes sense. Where it's like, I want to try fishing because everybody's like, oh, this is impossible. And then I did it and I just did it.
Yeah.
You know?
There are definitely a couple of the fish that are particularly challenging where, like, you know, you don't know it's going to be one, like an eel or something, I can't remember, but where it just like jumps up all the way to the top at the beginning.
Some of them just like jump up
and you're like, and you just can't catch up with it. But like, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward. You know, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Not impossible.
Yeah. That's a great game.
But other than that, I guess like the usual suspects, like the Super Meat Boys, the Shovel Knights, the Celeste.
Yep.
Can't say Hollow Knight, never played it. Can't say Messenger, never played it. Can't say Dead Cells, never played it.
I can say one of those. Hollow Knight.
Lightfall's cool too. Lightfall's cool.
Lightfall? Oh, Lightfall. Yeah, that's the one with where you like create platforms on yourself or whatever. Yeah. I saw stuff about that. For some reason, watching the gameplay looked like it wasn't going to be, I don't know, like it seemed like it would be broken if you could create platforms, but I mean, you
can only create like it's kind of like it's not too dissimilar from like the boost in Celeste.
Gotcha.
Where it's like you have this one thing and you could like, once you burn it, you burn it and you're done. You fell. It's over for you.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, it seemed like I heard good things about that when it first came out, but maybe it's gotten buried by, it was before Celeste, wasn't it? Or maybe it was after. I don't remember.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was after because I remember me and Bob streamed it, and the developers were in there, and like we were talking about like how long is this compared to Celeste, and the developers were like, oh, it's probably shorter than Celeste. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Nice. But yeah, for me, Hollow Knight for sure. Probably number one indie game for me. It's just fun. It's so good. It does a great job of like, in the same way that Celeste brings you into like the story and the world and you feel like just part of it. I feel like Hollow Knight does that in a different kind of way. It's like Celeste kind of brings you into this one person story that you really kind of understand and jive with and stuff. But then Hollow Knight brings you more, makes me feel at least like I'm part of this world, but it's just this, you know, like big small world at the same time. It's, I don't know, it's real good. So it's fun.
I'll play it one day. Stop guilting me, Parker.
It's good. It also, I mean, the platforming in it's pretty good too. Honestly, I played that before I played Celeste, and after I finished it, I was like, man, I need to play a platformer now because like the platforming is just fun, like to just jump around. It's tough, but it's just fun to do. And the boss, whatever. So that game, but also Celeste, Golf Story was fun. I enjoyed that. Stardew's great. Yeah, those are probably my top ones.
I think. Did Golf Story come out before? Yeah, Golf Story came out before I was cool enough.
It came out, it was September of 2017. Like right at the beginning of September.
I don't think Nintendo published that. But I wasn't cool enough to get free games yet. Even from indies.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Early 2017 was like, it wasn't completely like out of the norm for me to get a free game. But it wasn't as it wasn't to the point that it is now where it's like, developers send me stuff and it's like, but like, why though? Like, like I already have Smash Brothers. Leave me alone for at least another month.
Unless you're just making more of Smash Brothers. No thanks.
I know, but like if you're Nintendo, like go ahead, I'll play Mario. I'll stop playing Smash Brothers for like a week and play Mario. Sure, why not?
What a challenge.
But the rest of you guys, give me a little bit. I'll play them, but like give me a bit. Okay.
Next up, Patar35 asks, does Mario really go on these crazy adventures, or does he just do a lot of shrooms after a long day of plumbing? This one I do remember we answered.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And wasn't our answer both?
Yep.
It's both.
He does a bunch of shrooms and starts going on adventures.
It's canonical that it's both.
Yeah, but he's going on adventures in like Brooklyn, and he's just imagining that it's the the Mushroom Kingdom. Because
that's a copyright issue. I'm Disney.
I mean,
does Disney have copyright on Magic Kingdom? I'd assume.
I would think so. Yeah, that seems. I would say so.
That's a strong copyright, right?
Yeah, it is.
But it's definitely canonical in Mario Maker because he gets all tall and slinky and gross with that one mushroom. That one is the other kind
Wafario.
Of
I think that's his name when he's tall and lanky like that. Is Wafario, and he's it's just fun.
It's very strange.
It is very strange. I enjoy it a lot. Man, I'm excited for Mario Maker 2. Not gonna lie, it's just gonna be so neat.
Same, give it to me. Yep. See, my excitement is like completely dampened by Bob's excitement. Like it's not even a thing that I'm excited for that game, but I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
because like that's his game. Like, and I told Dan or no, it was Logan. I mean, that episode when you were dead. And Dan was like, yo, like, Bob had his day. He had his day. And Logan was like, AJ's excited for that game, too. He likes that game, too. I'm like, nah. That's Bob's game. Because, like, we both like it. And we made the video on my channel where, again, we predicted that game. We brought it into existence single-handedly. And slopes are thanks to us.
I'm so proud of you.
The only reason. When that happened. So it's like, yeah, I staked my claim on that game, and I said, yes, I like this game. It's a game that I enjoy. But Bob is like on another level. I wasn't like freaking out, you know?
Yeah.
Especially since I'm like on the point, like I'm at this point where it's like, when I talked about something in a certain way where it's like, this just makes this much sense. It's just like a no-brainer, like they're going to do it. It's going to happen. When it happens, I'm like, yeah, because duh. You know? Kind of like Splatoon, like Inkling being Smash Brothers.
Right.
When that happened, everybody's like, what is this? It's Smash Bros.
It's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, like, you're all stupid. But moving on.
I will say also, just a little something. Back when we were doing our predictions and all that, I predicted that the one more thing would be 2D Zelda, and it was 2D Zelda. Oh, look at that. Snaps. That was the only thing I probably got right, but I was like, oh, cool. Because I was just hoping that it was going to be, I think our expectations of what a 2D Zelda game would be wouldn't have warranted a one last thing, but because of what it actually was, it was. So I was very happy about that.
I mean, but we were right about the most important thing. And Grimhain was like, or was it Grimhain? I think it was Grimhain where it was like, oh, you're just setting Bob up for disappointment. But guess what? It wasn't disappointment. It happened.
It all happened. And Grimhain also said with the recent rumors of PS5 possibly being fully backwards compatible and Microsoft already having very strong in that area, and Microsoft already very strong in that area, do you think this will influence Nintendo at all in terms of their offerings via Switch Online?
I think that Microsoft is going to give Nintendo Game Pass and that this is going to be backwards compatible. And what if it's like on like even that level, like Switch Online is like their infrastructure is handled by them?
I kind of wondered about that, like that servers and stuff would be kind of farmed out to Microsoft in some way. I don't know,
because it wouldn't be like unprecedented, you know, like. Apple for a very long time had their like their map app completely done by Google. You know, like that was Google Maps on their phone. And tech companies do that a lot where they get other tech companies to, like Apple having Samsung make their cameras and stuff, you know? So it wouldn't be like unprecedented, and it's not something that they like is irreversible. If for whatever reason Microsoft and Nintendo are like, nah, we're not friends anymore. So I could definitely see them like going that far with it and just say, okay, yeah, all the virtual console stuff, like the big classic games and stuff like that, that's going to be on Game Pass. On the Nintendo part, the sectioned off, not touching an Xbox, can't have our food touch inside of Game Pass.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. As far as backwards compatibility specifically, right now there's a huge gap between some of the old stuff that's available on Switch of Nintendo software and the new stuff that's available on Switch software. And I feel like, pretty quickly they're going to, well, I don't know about pretty quickly anymore, but they're going to close that gap with SNES and stuff. I don't think they're concerned specifically. Like, I don't think PS5 or Microsoft's backwards compatibility is influencing Nintendo at all. I feel like it's just on them, and they're like, yeah, we're going to eventually give that stuff to people. But
I think Nintendo is the one that does the influencing.
Yes, right.
If we're being real.
Yeah. And then besides Nintendo whatever they don't want to do, they just don't want to do. So
Exactly. Like, I think a lot of people thought initially when it's like, oh yes, Nintendo's finally getting on board with the online stuff. It's like, nah, I think Nintendo just woke up and was like, hey, the internet's a thing. Let's embrace that more. Rather than it being like, oh man, this is... And that's not to say that they shouldn't look at it like that, because I talk about that a lot, where it's like, look at what these other companies are doing, but I just don't think that they run their company like that. They're not doing that sort of market research. They're trying to be the one that everybody does their market research around. I don't even necessarily know if they're trying to be that to other people, but they want to be unique in that way. Rather than the end goal being, we want people to copy us.
Right. And I mean, the other thing is they can't copy Sony and Microsoft in the kind of backwards compatibility that they have, because theirs is primarily going to be hardware backwards compatibility, which Nintendo has done, with a bunch of consoles kind of one at a time, like where the Wii was backwards compatible with the GameCube and the Wii U was backwards compatible with the Wii and stuff. But like at this point with the Switch, there's, if it's going to be backwards compatible, it's all going to be software based. So then, if they do it, I feel like we'll have through GameCube. I question mark about the Wii and the Wii U. We've already got all of its games anyway. So I mean, pretty much all of them. We're missing like a couple, but yeah.
Wait, what's on Wii U that still matters?
Wonderful 101 and Xenoblade Chronicles X to some people.
Sure, I guess.
Pikmin 3 and Super Mario 3D World.
That's true. So Pikmin 3 and Mario 3D World, and then close up shop.
Oh, and Star Fox Zero, maybe.
It's Pikmin 3 and Mario 3D World and close up shop. No, I'm joking. I'd be down with Star Fox Zero. I like that game, but like not on the level that like I think a lot of people look at Star Fox Zero in a different way than I do, because it's like, for me, it's like a arcade attraction sort of situation where like the controls aren't like intuitive, but that's the point,
right?
Where it's like, it's not intuitive to fly a freaking spaceship either, but people do it. I think that it's just supposed to be fun in that, like, oh my god, it's hard to do this sort of way,
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yep. So yeah, I think we'll see a lot of that stuff come in pretty shortly. I'm surprised we still don't have SNES, but we'll have it this year at some point eventually.
Someday. They took it out of the update.
Yeah.
But
so
we'll
whatever.
One day.
Squannel asks thoughts on Mario Kart Tour delay. You could tell this was a couple weeks ago.
I still don't know what that is. I still don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I know. I guess it's a game. Is it a Ridge Racer? Is that what we're doing here? Is it Ridge Racer on the iPhone? Is it Asphalt 7 or whatever that game's called?
No clue. Yeah, I don't really care that there's a delay, to be honest. I mean, it's fine. Like if it came out in the next couple weeks, I would download it in the next couple weeks. If it came out in the next couple months, I'd download it then. So like, as far as my opinions on it personally, I'm fine. But hopefully it means good things.
I don't think I don't even know if this is like a normal thing with like mobile game development.
Yeah, right.
Where like they ever even get delayed, because I just don't care. You know, like mobile games are like, I don't even know why they even announced that they're doing one.
Probably just for investor purposes would be my only guess.
Yeah, because I feel like Nintendo's the only one that does that for the most part. Like usually, like
I don't know, Diablo Immortal or whatever it was.
That's true.
Bit of a disaster.
That's a good point. But I was more so thinking like the Angry Birds of the world. Like they just appear, you know, and like they announce them on the day that they're already out. And I feel like Nintendo doesn't really do that. Like we still get the traditional like long lead up, or long, I guess, question mark.
Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it'll come and hopefully it'll be fun. I don't know. It depends on what it is. I don't really feel like sitting on my phone and playing like an actual racing game really at all. It seems like
it's going to be. Here's what it is. Mario Kart Tour is going to have you in the I don't even remember what the term is, but the people that fix the cars
in the pits.
It's going to have you in the pit. That's you're going. Yep. You're going to be Toad. It's going to have you in the Toad pit.
There you go.
You got to fix up the carts. That's what the game is.
There you go. I could see something like that. But moving along, we got 2 more comments or questions. Ultimate Elite Mountain, Marvel versus DC in terms of comics, TV, movies, and games.
I'm not, okay, disclosure. I'm not a giant comic book fan, but I dabble. So comics. Probably Marvel, because the only comics I've ever read are Spider-Man. TV, DC, because I like the animated ones, like Static Shock, like Teen Titans, like Justice League. Those are cool. Movies, Marvel, because and games, overall DC probably, but recently because of Spider-Man, Marvel.
Yep. Me, in terms of, I'll just say everything opposite of AJ for fun. Iron Thor asks, what do you think Xbox Live on Switch is about? Also, what's your social security number for business purposes? 555, etc., etc.
Did somebody start with 555?
So the 555 thing is just that it's a made up area code for
yeah, I know.
You mean okay? But I just, in case anybody else, I wasn't talking to you, AJ. That's so stupid. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. That's a good question.
If anybody on this planet understands that you saying you're stupid is a joke, it's me. Yeah. Because I do it every single thing I
figured
record.
I should rebut with it. I mean, you do it enough. It felt fun to join in the action.
It's fine. I'm just saying, you don't gotta say you're joking. I completely understand. I let people know I'm joking because I don't know if they understand it, but I get it. We're here. Eye level.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if anybody's probably somebody's social security number starts with 555, because it's not like
we just completely changed this question.
I don't know. But the real question, I mean, we kind of already went over this, I guess, in this one, but what do you think Xbox Live on Switch is about? It sounds like everything.
I think it's what I said. I think that Xbox is going to help out Nintendo, throw them a bone, and also in return make a ton of money, because Switch gamers are going to get more games. Mm-hmm. That are fine.
Yep.
Halo on Switch, sure. Why not?
Absolutely.
And also achievements, I guess.
Yeah.
Why? Sure.
I mean, and my thought too that I'd had on this, but didn't really say before, is I think Microsoft, when they started the Xbox generation, had just terrible PR. Nobody particularly liked them, even their fan base. Like, I don't know, just like in general, bad consumer relations. And right now, like, if I had to get, I don't know, I just have way better feelings about Microsoft than I do about Sony, just because of all this stuff. And so they're ingratiating people to themselves. And I feel like all this stuff is going to have to happen this year, because rumor has it their next console is going to come out next year. And they would probably want to just go ahead and get this stuff out of the way before their next console comes out, so that the infrastructure is already set up for it and all that. And so that it's not both happening at the same time and, dividing the conversation. So yeah.
I feel like for me, I like it more when, like, I mean, obviously when Nintendo is doing the best out of the three, just because like, that's what I prefer. Right. Not on like the tribalism or that sort of thing, but just like when they're doing good, that means I get more things on the platform that I like. But just in terms of like company culture and like how they communicate with their audience and like how they carry themselves, I don't like when Sony's on top.
Yes, right.
At all, because they get very arrogant very quickly. Yep. And it's not the first time that this has happened. And it probably won't be the last. So I just want it to be anything like at worst case scenario, more evened out. Best case scenario, just Xbox and Nintendo carrying the situation, because I think everybody's happiest that way.
Yeah.
Because everybody that likes certain things is just better off outside of like the people that are like identify with like the logo rather than like because like I don't think any PlayStation fan like that likes PlayStation games and their IP and stuff like that actually likes how they carry themselves when they're winning. I don't think anybody actually likes that. I think that they get so deep in the weeds of like fanboydom that they're like, so what? Why would I want to play cross-play? You know, like they like are in favor of like these anti like consumer things almost just because like the company that they like said that they're against it or that they're not for it. And just to play a little devil's advocate and that also transparency, like I'm kind of like that. Well, not like that for that reason, but like with voice chat. When people are like, I want voice chat or I want achievements and stuff like that. And I'm like, that doesn't really matter. But I think that saying you want to play with less people is different from not caring about using a feature that you don't use anyway.
Right.
Like I have these other two platforms and I don't care what achievements I have. I don't care how many trophies I have. They don't matter to me. And I have consoles that have voice chat that's done well. And I don't use it.
Yeah.
But as far as crossplay is not really a thing of like, oh, well, I wouldn't use that anyway. It's like, yeah, you would, because I know that if you have any friends that you play games with, you have this discussion of, okay, what platform are we getting this generation? And this time, if they do crossplay just all the time, you don't have to have that conversation anymore. Just pick what platform you like more.
I mean, and also just if you don't play with friends, but you just play with random people online at all, it just means faster matchmaking. And that's always good. Like,
yes,
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Truth. We transformed this question several times, but I hope you got the answer you were looking for. Iron Door.
Now does he know our social security number?
The podcast episode that you were looking for when you clicked on this or tapped on this. This has been the 51st episode of Directly You. Yes, I looked at my notes to double check if it was episode 51. What's it to you? The final thoughts, Parker?
Final thoughts. This is going to be a crazy year.
It's already been a crazy year.
This has already been a crazy year.
It's already been a crazy year. Okay, goodbye. Thank you for listening. Like, comment, subscribe.
Goodbye.